shoot the block. Fuck me, you shoot at the cops. I'ma just shoot till you drop. I'ma just spit in your face. You gon' get hit with the gauge. Take your pin out the grenade, nigga. I'ma go piss in your grave.
Okay, I'm tired of y'all niggas acting crazy and shit. When the doors come out, we ain't playing that shit. My niggas ain't scared. Beware, don't jab. Beware, ain't scared. Beware, don't jab. Beware. 1 for the game, 2 for the fame, 3 for the name, 4 to the grave.
Lay him down for a minute. Put a nail in the coffin. Lay him down for a minute.
1 for the game, 2 for the fame, 3 for the name, 4 to the grave.
Nail in the coffin. Lay him down for a minute. Put a nail in the coffin. Lay him down for a minute.
Fall down on the street where I live, like the soot and the sleet and the snow, and it gathers in shadows and in the dips and dark narrows, out in the rag tattered road, out in the rag tattered road, and neck deep in the blues. Neck deep in the blues, neck deep in the blues. Hey brother, can you spot me $1? Hey friend, can you lend me a 5? My check's not due for another week or 2. I'll pay you back for sure this time. Well, you sure can't get tied on $1. You sure can't get high on a 5. But you can ride a rocket and take it downtown. Watch all them pretty lights shine. Neck deep in the blues. 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 Hey man, can you point out the station? Now sir, can you show me the train? I've been walking in circles for hours and hours, and I seem to have lost my way. Well, there's no one to meet at the station. There's no one to see on the train. But if I could find the right track, I just might get myself back to the place from which I came. Neck deep in the blues. 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 One more time. And the blues fall down on the street where I live, like the soot and the sleet and the snow, and it gathers in shadows and in the dips and dark narrows, and out in the rag tattered road. Neck deep in the blues. 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 Neck deep in the blues.
God break down the door. You won't find the answers here, not the ones you came looking for.
Blood satellite.
Hey, he's still there?
Hey, I'm here, buddy. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. I'm coming in hot. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Nice.
And there's no good way to tie any of it together. We're going to get right into it. First of all, I want to mirror the excitement of this guy right here, Derek Dead, Woohoo Time Cube. We're going to be talking Time Cube, right? It's been brought up a few times in the past. We're not going to get there right away. I'm going to make you wait for it. I got a lot of shit that's coming down the pike. Okay. And, I came to you, with the topic. I'm like, you heard this Time Cube thing, thinking he was going to say no. Turns out I was the last guy in the world to know about this.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we got some Japanese stuff here saying morning, lads.
Shit. They found us.
It's morning somewhere.
Yeah, I guess.
Also, we got Sean Schaefer, late and gay. We're not late. We just make people. My entire life, and Judas will attest to this, I've been trying to subject him to my music. And I put a lot of thought into these little mixtapes. And I had to get a podcast going to hold him hostage.
Yeah. Well, I take a 13-minute shit while the intro was rolling, so I didn't hear any of it.
You've been shitting a lot lately. Can I tell a story? Okay.
Oh, no.
I need to put this to the brain trust. All right. So you have a tendency, you and your wife, lovely woman, to make some baffling food. I was going to say interesting, course corrected. It's mind-melting food. So, and she's always serving it up to us in the chat, saying, "Look at this," coming in with her Martha Stewart luminescence. And the one thing she had made recently, I think it was like some kind of dish made of sausage and hooves. Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
What? There were no hooves?
I might have been adding that sausage for sure.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The story is that they're coming here saying, "Look, we made this amazing dish. You're all fools. You're all scabs." Then next message I get from you, "I've been shitting for an hour."
The thing is, I can't even remember what day it was because we got so many creative things going on.
It's because he's always shitting. He's like, "Oh yeah, which time was it me shitting for a full hour?"
It was probably the sauce though, because it's pepper harvest time, and I got we got 3 different homemade hot sauces going on here right now, and some of them are shit worthy. So
I love your concoctions, and I love you don't subject anyone else to them but yourself, and so I respect that. But if you had as many stories as I've got, this guy's shitting, and just throwing them out there as if it's something everybody does.
Well, I mean, you ate those pickles at the birthday party. I made those too. So, and you told me you were about to compliment them, and you looked me in the eye. You're like, you know what? I don't want you to get ahead of yourself.
Yeah,
these pickles are all right.
I kept you in line.
Yep.
And I didn't get a thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for keeping me in line. Thanks for neglecting to compliment the pickles in order to keep my head small enough.
I gotta keep you on the straight and narrow. Yeah, I gotta make sure, people depend on us to have the gumption of balls to create a perfect balance. If you've already got a dangerously big head because everyone loves Judas.
Huge.
It's heavily tilted towards you. I don't mind saying it, by the way. I'm always hearing Judas had a great take the other day. Sometimes they'll say my takes or your takes, and I can't correct them because then I sound petty and insane. But I think you've been getting the credit for everything good so far. Judas coin is skyrocketing. Oh yeah, got Sean Schaefer. Is it Asian Midwest fusion? What would that be? That would be like a cheese curd dumpling, I assume, right?
Yeah, dumplings on ice.
I think I just described a pierogi. Yeah, a Midwest Asian is pierogies. It's pierogies. Slavic food.
Yeah.
Like if I had to describe Ukrainian food, it would be Midwest Asian because like a cabbage roll seems kind of like Midwest plus Asian, doesn't it?
I still don't believe cabbage. I think the Ukrainians stole that. I think they're fucking thieves.
Okay.
There's no way cabbage rolls are European. They're so
What do you
Asian.
mean? That's so
Cabbage
stupid.
rolls, look at them. They're like
That's the
Vietnamese
dumbest thing
food.
you've ever said.
They're just, you know what it is? It's Asian food without the flavor. Is what
Have
it
you
is.
had? Have you? Okay, first of all, have you had a cabbage roll? Do you know what's in it?
Look, I am flush with cabbage.
You
right
know
now.
what?
We make cabbage rolls here all the time, and we buy from the Ukrainian grocer because I have a not Ukrainian, Polish grocer, because you know where I live. It's fucking Pole Town out here. So
You know what? It does have a lot of rice, doesn't it?
it's rice and like pork and cabbage and a bunch of other stuff, and it's very wet, which is again, it reminds me of like a lot of steamed Asian food. It's very wet.
It's a lot of wet food over there,
It's a
isn't
lot
it?
of wet rice.
It's not a creamy sauce, and that's why I never liked cabbage rolls growing up. And my family would make them all the fucking time. And I'm like, this is just wet cabbage and rice and just like tomato vinegar or what something in the inside.
That's the other thing is the sauce. You would expect a European sauce to be like thick and creamy, but it is like a very watery, vinegary tomato sauce. So
You know what? I think you might have humbled me in front of everyone. All right, so we have a few things to talk about before we get into Time Cube. And before I get started,
but we got a Chinese guy in the chat. Zheng Wei says China invent borscht, and you know what? Chinese borscht I prefer to Russia borscht. It's like sweeter, and it's thicker, and it's got like less potato and more other root vegetables, and it's great. I love it. It's more closer to like a nice sweet tomato soup. Yeah.
Really? Okay, so like I've never had borscht. To me, when I think of borscht, it's a cold purple soup.
You know what?
Is that what it
Here's
is?
the thing. I've never had authentic Slavic borscht. I've had a lot of Chinese borscht, and then I've had technically Slav borscht at like European style restaurants. So I don't know if that was any good, but like my impression of it, I've eaten it so many times in Asia, and it's one of the best things you can get on the menu.
I just like the sense I've had a lot of Chinese borscht. If I lived in China, I would not have a lot of borscht.
It's common. It's like they eat it for lunch there all the time. It's like a standard thing.
Before I forget, I've got something pulled up on screen here, and I'm going to throw a QR code up right now on screen. This will be up in the chat too. This is a shirt that's now available on the Good Suffer store. That's our main store. This is a familiar design. We've been selling this for a while. It's a very, very popular design, but we've recently partnered with influencer in our space by the name of Mike of Paul. You know, people have seen him floating around, and in partnership with him, we've decided to actually get him to print and manufacture these shirts entirely, whereas prior to that, they were made by a couple other companies. But now, this specific shirt, this one right here, and we're hoping to expand it to the other shirts, but this one for now is made 100% in this political space, manufactured and then shipped by me. It's an entire self-contained thing.
Wow.
And the quality of the shirt has gone up far. Like, we picked out the shirt ourselves. You know, we deal with these other companies. You don't really have a say in what shirts are available, or they err on the side of the cheapest. It's a good quality shirt. We've printed it, dyed it, heat treated it, did everything so it lasts a long time. Better than, it was before. It was a fine shirt before. It's better now. However, it is a limited run. So if people are interested, I got some images on screen here. Let me see if I can just switch this up so it makes a bit more sense on the screen.
$35, I would suggest buying them all and then hawking them. That would be the best idea.
Yeah. How high can you get these shirts? You know what? That's a smart man's idea. We got like a few images here on the side, what it looks like, whatnot, description here if you need it. Anyway, I just wanted to make that available to people. If you'd like to support the show, but you don't want to just donate to the Patreon or something, just buy a well-made product. And sorry, I'm dropping that at the top, but I'm going to forget otherwise. So before we get started, I'm just going to check out the chat here really quick and maybe turn down that music a bit. Okay. I love the music, but I don't want people to be chewing my fucking skin off later. Oh, Owen Zaleski, Polish pierogies are great. Limitless fillings like potato, cabbage, cheese, fruit, and onions. I'm not loving this fruit.
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
Yeah, no.
Sean Schaefer, are Eastern Europeans just Chinese people?
There we go. That's my theory. That's what I was going with.
That's probably a theory of a lot of people. They would say, I've heard a lot of theories floating around. The Eastern Europeans are an Asiatic people that, they came over from Mongolia. I mean, there's probably several theories about what they are.
Yeah.
And you know my policy, every theory is essentially true.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Winkler's meat. Can you imagine a Chinese person trying to pronounce borscht?
Boj.
That's good. How did they do it? Did they call it borscht or was it something else?
Oh, it's I think it's called la Santon. I forget. They have their own word for it.
Oh, by the way, the individual you're referencing, Zhang Wei, I am not Chinese and I made that up.
It's hilarious because I didn't make it up. It's true.
It's true. He could have just had credit for having a right thought.
Yeah, we're talking about is it La Santon? How do you say it? Yeah? I got it right. It's La Santon. That's Cantonese, by the way. I should have said this isn't Chinese. This is Cantonese, like Southeastern Chinese, Hong Kong thing.
That's like saying there's a difference between Polish and Ukrainian. Like, no one in the audience likes this.
But you know, not to go on a tangent, but you know what it is though, is because it's a British colony, so most of their food, they're both beloved food, is all from the different colonial groups. So everything is, they love borscht, but everything's got spam in it. Everything is like high tea, like they do like the 3 o'clock English tea, Ceylon tea with cream and with a biscuit. Like they do all of these things, and they love the black and white Danish condensed milk or whatever.
They're crazy about condensed milk and spam.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd never done it before, but I actually love condensed milk. It's better than syrup. Like for some things, like condensed milk on toast is delicious.
Riddle me this: what is condensed milk? Is it what it sounds like, or is there something else to it?
As far as I know, it's just condensed milk. I think some places sweeten it, but it is naturally sweet. If you think milk and you just take the water out of it, what is it? It's like a lactose syrup. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very sweet. It's sweet like I don't know how to describe it. It's condensed milk. It's almost like a honey flavor. It's really good.
Can you do condensed raw milk, or do you get in trouble for that?
I mean, you get in trouble for fucking everything now. I don't know.
Oh, Owen Zaleski, there's a difference between Poland and Ukraine. Fuck off. It's for the record. I know people. I am half Ukrainian, so that is said in jest.
Yeah. The other half is human.
Yeah. So hey, I've been hearing that, you know, for the past couple of years that we should all die. Remember that time when Ukrainians were Jews for a few months there?
Hey, it could still happen. They might still be. We'll find out.
I think Zelensky's going to get assassinated soon. Like something's going to happen to Zelensky. Yeah. Whatever the 2025 version of like the cane coming from off stage to pull someone off is. It might not be it's got to be public enough where people know that was embarrassing. I think
he'll wind up in South America or something. They'll have something where he can be like detached and go. But otherwise, I think he knows too much. So they either got to move him off somewhere far away or they got to kill him.
Okay, I'm getting raked over the coals by CT here. It says Dimes calls himself a foodie, but has never heard of condensed milk, Chinese borscht, or cabbage rolls. I never said I didn't hear of cabbage rolls. I was served them constantly growing up, and I hated them.
Yeah, they just suck.
Yeah. There is I think I told that story. I just want to tell it again for people who didn't know that there is a Ukrainian restaurant that I like because I love pierogies. They're prepared correctly. They're very, very delicious. And for the entire beginning of the war in Ukraine, there's a lineup around the block of people, I guess, supporting it militarily. And I knew that we were done with that war when there was no more line. And it was just me still going there just because I like it. But which means that there's all these people eating pierogies who just didn't like it, which is a funny thing to subject yourself to.
The other thing is like being the one who goes out of the way to buy the authentic pierogies versus getting the $3 for 5 kilo bag at No Frills.
Okay, this is where we're gonna get into a fight.
Here we go. Yeah, this is what people came to the stream for.
You can't tell the difference between like something that's authentic and homemade and by the way, you Mr. Motherfucker, Mr. fucking guy with a fucking knife in his back for me, you were saying you don't eat packaged food.
Hey, I'm gonna do one even worse for you than disagreeing with you. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say I can tell the difference, but you gotta choose your battles, and it's just not something that I care about that much.
Okay. I got heated for a second there.
Damn, son, where'd you find
Don't stop!
Actually, the wife does actually make them. We've made them a few times. They're a little bit tedious to make, but they do taste way, way, way better when you make them yourself. But
This is the thing. Your wife was showing an image. I don't know where she finds this stuff of a sausage. It's from a grocery store that someone could buy it, and it was sausages made with gummy bears inside of them. And she's like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "You two would make that. I know you two.
We would."
Did
Did you see the andouille that we made? It was so bad. There's like chunks of organ and an ear and stuff in it.
Just a big, just a big chunk of heart right in your sausage.
The consistency was all wrong. But
well, I mean, it's just for you because we had served a big Thanksgiving dinner the other day and we didn't mash the potatoes properly. And there's one of the worst feelings in the world is taking a bite of something, thinking it's mashed potatoes, and there's a chunk. Your whole fucking day is thrown off, brother.
You got to just go to town on it. Like whenever you think it's done, you got to just go another 2 minutes with the potatoes.
People are like, okay, so are we doing time cube? Are we doing?
We're largely talking about my wife and food. Yeah.
We're doing time cube. Okay, so before we get started, this is something that was made for this show, and if we didn't cover it, then why do anything?
I feel like we did cover it a few years ago, did we not? Because I remember watching the doc and talking to somebody. I might have just been watching the doc.
No, time cube. I'm not doing time cube right now. I'm doing Lauren Chen stand-up.
Oh, that's even better. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing Lauren Chen. Russia's Lauren Chen. So someone just sent me, hey, I actually got this from the good men at the Kino Casino. So you could also go over to the Kino Casino and watch their coverage of it. But if you want our take, I'm just going to go through it. We're just going to give it a little watch. We're not going to make a whole pit stop out of this. Put your neck pillow away. We're not going on tour with this. But I just want to just describe for people. Derek said food cube. All right, so she was performing a stand-up act, and if you look at the timestamps down here, what we're looking at is Minds Fest. Everyone knows that social media network Minds, right? I remember hearing about that a few years ago, like, hey, Stefan Molyneux's over here, and all the free speech guys are over here, and then I didn't know it was still around, and apparently they have an event once a year, Minds Fest, right? Sounds kind of gross, I don't know. Sounds a bit too cerebral.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at this dais of shows right here. Here's what you can look forward to: Drinkin' Bros podcast. People are just having podcasts at this thing. Conspiracy theories are fun. I'd go for Jimmy Dore. I will say he's the only reason I'd go with this.
Yeah.
By the way, Jimmy Dore, he's going right over the edge. And I'm like, he's having guys on who are saying, you know what, Israel shouldn't exist. We got to do something about Israel. This is the guy who was on the Young Turks a while ago. And then he kind of went right adjacent with the vaccine stuff. He was hard against the COVID vaccine stuff. And now, like clockwork, he's down here in the shit with us. And I just like to see it. I like to see someone, and he's got a platform, and he's got like a couple million fucking subscribers. So he's here. Conspiracy theories are fun. Is America becoming a communist country? I bet that was not interesting at all. The election integrity debate, fucking Destiny's there. Look at this. And then it ends with stand-up comedy, which, by the way, is not how you want to organize anything.
Sounds like the rest of it was sit-down comedy.
Oh, yeah, biscuits and coffee. A real meeting of the mind. Behold correctly says, I thought she was hiding since the Russia shit. Yeah, I don't know how that all played out, right? That was kind of an open and shut case. But I don't know, like maybe these people don't mind, I guess. I think like they're sort of close enough to mainstream republicanism where even if you are photographed taking a check from a Russian in a trench coat, they'll be saying that's liberal propaganda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is possible that someone in the Russian establishment tried to buy off someone, especially a lady who thought, stand-up comedy is good to do here. Let's just have a look.
Yo! All right, everybody. Well, that was awesome. We've had a lot of awesome conversations. You guys have been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. And
by the way, you know what? I don't like awesome conversations.
Yeah.
Like This is the only thing, and we don't do awesome conversations. We do thinly veiled threats. That's why people come here. Hey, let's discourse. I'm done with discourse.
We got threats that are showing some leg.
Yes. Thinly stockinged threats.
And we live in a very dark and very absurd world. And no matter what, we got to remember to laugh.
What a great way to introduce somebody's terrible stand-up is we live in a dark and absurd world. I'd like to bring you Lauren Chen.
These are dark times. These are perilous times. Usually you have another comedian bring up a comedian. We're all we had some great discourse. We're all depressed, but you need to laugh. And if I had one shot, one opportunity to get people to laugh, I wouldn't bring up a woman. Be an Asian woman. Asians are not known for stand-up comedy, unless her entire set is doing impressions of her parents, which I don't think she would do. And let me say this: I haven't even seen this yet. I don't know what's going to happen, but as far as I know, look, you know the show, you know us. We love nothing more than a celestial with sass, right? But I think she's married to a white man, and somewhere out there's a white man who really did not attend to his duty. He should not have let this happen.
Yeah.
You should not let your wife do this. So I don't even blame her for whatever's about to happen. It can't be good. There's no way in hell it's good. But I can't, you know what? It's like they got her drunk and kicked her out on the edge of a cliff. Why would you do that? Someone wants her to suffer. That's why this happened. Sean Schaefer Dimes is a beef maker. I guess what? I don't know what that means. Let's keep going.
So let's do some laughing now. Let's introduce our next person coming up on stage. We're going to have a good time. Everybody welcome Lauren Chen.
All right, how you guys doing tonight? You good? Yeah.
Can I just say this? I'm very uncomfortable. I am not someone who likes cringe comedy. I know what's coming. I can feel it in my spine. This is gonna be bad. I don't like watching people embarrass themselves and fail. What do you think about watching that? People, are you okay with this?
I mean, I can get to the point where I dislike the person enough that it's enjoyable. But if I feel sorry for them, it's hard to watch. But I really don't like her, so it's fine.
Okay, let's see. You know what? We have to slow this down a little bit. Just to
You're gonna slow it down.
So happy to be here. I'm so happy to be with you. I'm so happy to be in Austin. This is an amazing city. Are you guys from here? You locals? Heck yeah.
Oh.
It's so awesome. You guys, you clean up amazing, okay? You barely even look homeless. It's just good for you. Good for you. But no.
Okay. By the way, Austin sucks. Austin is not a good city. I don't know why our guys keep having stuff in Austin. I went there this year and I was not thrilled.
I do love Austin. Last time I was here, actually, funny story, I saw a homeless guy walking what I thought was a small dog on a leash. Turns out, no, giant rat. So it's one of those fun Austin stories that I have. Love that. Love me.
Was that supposed to be a laugh? That was rough.
For those who are listening at home and can't see this, there's no laughter.
None.
The
thing is, I think you'd get a lot of sympathy laughs if it even landed as a joke and not like a comment. You know what I mean? It's just like a honk.
Yeah, I saw someone walking a dog and I thought it was a rat. No, you didn't. You know, because here's the thing: audience will give you a lot of credit, especially if you're at a show.
Right,
People
right.
They'll go with you on something, but it's like I thought it was a dog, but it was a rat. No, it wasn't. You didn't bring me into your world enough. That's a lie.
Yeah.
You're lying, Lauren. I shouldn't be saying that.
It's also not funny even if you built it up. Like it's like, it's a dog, but it's actually a rat. No. There's nothing there. Anyways, what do we got?
I don't like this outfit either. If she's not a mom, she shouldn't be dressing like this. And if she's a mom, she shouldn't be on fucking stage.
Like a weird whore.
I know, it just seems like kind of from like the pants up to eye. Like this is very much like a this is a mom going out shirt.
Just go home.
Nature. This morning, was eating on a patio with my toddler. Throughout our meal, had 3 different homeless people come yell at us, which is like basically the Austin version of dinner and a movie. It's, entertainment as you eat. It's good stuff. But no, it is.
Good stuff. It's just complaining about Austin. Also, I didn't notice a lot of homeless people in Austin, so I don't know.
The whole thing is like, hey guys, I hate this place. It's fucking homeless and you guys suck. Yeah, nobody's laughing. He's like, yeah, you guys fucking suck, and it's homeless, and fuck you.
Yeah, so I was assaulted by homeless people, but it's like dinner and a movie. I'm like, no, it's not. I just want to be in the audience and just go, no, that's not accurate. That's not what it is. It's not that. So I got biscuits and coffee referencing Tim Heidecker's special, and I'm not an admirer of Tim Heidecker, but he did sort of an anti-comedy special, and he had this great bit. Yeah, I love Lady Gaga. What's next? Lord Goo? I mean, and just angrily like prompt, like laugh. Oh, wait, I'm getting the feeling that Miss Chen here was a LOL so hecking random raw girl growing up. You know what? Maybe. Would you like Lauren Chen more or less if she was goth as a teenager? I ask the audience. I ask you. Can you see her as goth? I can. No.
Get out of here.
No, are you saying you can't or you don't want to?
I don't want to. I'm not invested in any of this. She's just I already really disliked her, and now seeing this, it's so like I'm really embarrassed for her family and anybody who associates with her.
Walking in one pocket turned out there. You see that on the right there, just a real.
She was honestly probably anxiously thumbing her pocket before the show because she knew how badly she was going to bomb.
Why did the minds of mind do this?
It's really sad seeing all these homeless people, and my heart goes out to them. And I honestly think that being homeless, that's got to be one of the worst situations that a person could be in, frankly. At the same time, though, not popular to say this, as bad as it is, I'm sure, to be a homeless person, also not great to be around homeless people, right? And am I saying we are the victims here?
You know what I would have loved for her to say? What she could have salvaged that if she had said, we need to kill all the homeless people, or some variation of that. She could win me over with these jokes if she went, like, this is the point in the set. Some will call it early. If you go full genocide right around now, you got me in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Sean Schaefer points out Judas wants her dead. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's fair.
No, but it's not nothing, right? It's not nothing. Like, I don't want to be the person who can't afford dinner. Obviously not. But I also don't want to be the person who gets mugged to pay for dinner, and I feel like that's fair. But
she sounds like she's just trying to convince the audience that homeless people suck. Like, it's not. It doesn't even register as comedy. This is just her trying to, like, in a mean girl way, convince the audience that homeless people are undeserving of respect. Like, I don't actually. I'm almost offended by it a little bit. Like, it's just. I really don't like her. And this is not even remote. It's not even like it's bad jokes. There are no jokes. These aren't jokes. This is just you literally saying homeless people are gross and they stink and I don't like being around them. And I understand they're hungry, but like, can you just not be around? Like, okay, you just sound like a bitch. This isn't comedy. You're just being a bitch.
I really want to stay with this because I want to see how high your nerves and your fury get. I think by the end of this, you're putting your forehead through the screen.
I'm mad, man.
the problem I think is that over the past few years, people have decided that the worst thing you could do is be offensive, is to be insensitive. And if you don't think this is a problem, we have American cities now where people are so afraid of even being perceived as being offensive that they would literally rather live with human feces on the street than tell a homeless person to take a hide and crap in the woods. Like, that is the level that we have reached.
The thing that bothers me about minds, and they haven't been on my radar very much, but like we are way far past the date of people being able to say, everyone's offended these days. That was already over 3 years ago. Like Jerry Seinfeld was like 3 years ago saying, everyone's offended these days. And it's like there was like, it actually wasn't that bad.
Like this is not even a bit. This was a bit before you and I were born. Like what? This is
it's political correctness.
Yeah, it's beyond. It's not comedy anymore. This is just an actual legitimate political talking point. That's why I say this reads like it's just a political diatribe about how she hates the homeless.
This is something we would never really complain about before because it wasn't really in our interest. But the progressives and the leftists did have a point where, like, for a minute, there was threats to like free speech and stuff, but that kind of went away pretty fast. There was enough pushback on that from mainstream people where like comedians never really suffered. It became more popular for a comedian to claim that they were canceled to sell more tickets. Like this is the Andrew Schultz and these other guys were like they wouldn't air this. I was canceled. Very few people have been canceled, famous people. That's my take on it anyway. So this has been a grift for a long time, to the point where now we're at the tail end of 2024. We have a woman on stage. It's like people are so offended these days. They're not. I remember even back when I was living in Toronto, we would go to comedy clubs and where I'd go with Ray. And this was just about the time when, you know, cancel culture was on the tip of everyone's tongue. And there was almost an autoimmune reaction to that, where we would go to just like open mic sets and everyone was telling more rape jokes. Like they were trying to like immediately prove it's like, yeah, you're not going to cancel me. I'm like, I think that's just been the case for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're still liberal. Like Ricky Gervais will complain about woke, but he's still like an atheist lib. Like functionally, they haven't changed anything, but like woke has just been this scarecrow people stab at least in terms of culture for a while now. Anyway, that's just a gripe that I've got with these people, where like something like Minds, like we are the free speech network. How many fucking free speech networks do we have? Like Joe Rogan is the biggest show on earth, and that's his thing. And then there's all these other fucking minnow shows around him. Like we haven't been hurting for free speech, I don't think. Now that sounds extreme. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's such a fucking muddy thing. The free speech thing is like, say in this case with Lauren Chen. Like, do I think we should cancel Lauren? Do I think she should be like censored by the federal government? No, I think people should stop giving her money and inviting her to things. She's a dumb bitch. But I mean, is that censorship? Am I being a marm? Am I canceling her? No, I'm just expressing my opinion. And to a large extent, honestly, the cancel thing, that's in a sense, that's all it ever was.
Well,
the
also,
issue
like,
wasn't even free speech. It was that the mainstream media is controlled by our opponents. Like if they don't want to publish us, that's fine. And then like Twitter, right? Old Twitter was run by gays and weirdos, and so they didn't want to publish our shit. That's not really a free speech issue. It's the problem is that the media monopolies are controlled by our opponents. So I mean,
yeah. And also, just to clarify, I think the free speech issues that you weren't allowed to address back then, you're still not allowed to address. But those aren't the issues that Lauren Chen wants to address. Like you still can't talk about. I guess you can now more than ever before, in my opinion. But anything anti-Israeli or anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you
can't. Go ahead and say Israel should be pushed into the ocean. Go say that. I mean, I say it all the time, but I'm not showing my fucking face because I'd lose everything if I did it. We all would. So, you won't see that. But I mean, the whole like, let's mock the homeless. At what point was it cancelable to mock the homeless?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's also like the reason you don't tell a homeless person to pick up their shit isn't because you don't want to offend them. It's because you don't want to get stabbed with an AIDS shiv.
Yeah.
Which is what would happen to you. You'd be raped,
also,
Lauren. Like, that's why you don't
realistically,
do it.
the reason we don't banish the homeless to the woods is not out of fear of offending them. It's because it's inhumane. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a liberal, but like, it's inhumane. You're gonna put people in a van and dump them in the dark forest.
I caught you in a liberal take.
I got you. Got me. I
got you.
Shit.
I want to liquidate all the homeless, and that's honestly that is a take I have tested out with libs these days,
why?
and they're on board.
Oh, they're on board with liquidating the homeless.
Yeah,
that makes sense. The thing is, most homeless now, most legit homeless are white, so it's like, and they're people that have, Anyway, I don't want to get into a whole thing, but.
Yeah, but to save the white race, we got to get rid of these bad ones.
How about we get rid of Lauren Chen and we put a homeless man in her house? We find like a guy who lost his job because of DEI, and we just put Lauren Chen in the bottom of a pool full of sand, and then we put him in her house.
I knew this would end with you burying her in something. I knew it. We didn't even get through this. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Let's see how bad this gets.
Who are making all your clothes, so it's fine. And actually, corporate America, if you guys are paying attention, I know there's a lot of controversy stateside about things like maternity leave. People don't want to pay it. Turns out, if your workers are all prepubescent, you can just sidestep that conversation entirely. So, follow me for more business tips. But,
these are just tweets. I figured it out. These are just tweets she made. Like, these aren't jokes. This is just like corporate America. Yeah, you like to hire underage people. That's good. She's doing this thing. Girls do this all the time when they're insecure. They'll go like, "That's great. That's great." So that's her version of like, so what else is in the news?
There's a lot of things in America that we don't have in Asia. One of them things really different.
What do you
probably
mean
most
we
noticeable
don't
is the amount
have
of
in Asia? You're fucking. What the fuck?
Is she like a full, or is she half? What's her story?
She's Chinese, but she was born in Canada and raised in like London and Singapore, I think. Like she's an extremely wealthy global citizen. She's essentially an American. I mean, look. Okay, so here I am, the guy saying that the fucking Asian girl's an American. But you know what I mean? She's like, we in Asia. Like, you haven't really, as far as I know, she's not from Asia. She hasn't lived there. Like, are you talking about what people in Asia are like or do? How the fuck do you know? I've probably spent more time in Asia than you have, you dumb bitch.
Get her. Get her ass.
diversity that you have in America compared to Asia. And there are probably people out there thinking, like, what are you saying? Asia's super diverse. It's full of Asians. Well, despite...
You know what they don't have in
despite what
Asia?
marketing agents...
Female stand-up comedians.
What do they do with them, Judas?
Yeah, they put them in the ocean.
They put they put them in there. They put them in the ocean. Like it's just a room. They just because if they drop them in the ocean, no, they put them in a submarine, drop them, and then put them in the middle, the center of the ocean. We got Winkler's me here. Judas is more Asian than Chen.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it.
Oh, and Zhang Wei made a good point. Mock the Israeli homeless. I actually think it's against the charter of rights and freedoms of Israel for an Israeli to be homeless.
Yeah.
They'll give you someone else's home.
Agencies may think. Diverse doesn't just mean no white people. Actually, it means diversity. And America has a lot of diversity for...
Actually, it actually does mean no white. That's kind of... Now she's annoying me ideologically.
For better or worse. Like, the first time I actually lived in America, it was when I was going to college. And that's when I realized how much of a melting pot it actually is here. And
so, yeah, she was born in Canada. So she makes it sound like the first time I was in America, I'm like, but you lived just across the border in Canada. Yeah. Which is like in a big American state.
And, I was surrounded by people, different races who didn't look like me. And it's for better or worse, because simultaneously...
Okay, yeah, you went to school in America and you didn't see any other Asians?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
This is just a total... I mean, look, it's a comedy thing, so she's making it up. She's making the fucking stories up. But yeah, it's not... It doesn't even... Like, you just look at her and you know from the way she talks and the way she's dressed that she's not from Asia. You're clearly a dumb fucking middle-aged whore from somewhere in North America, obviously.
See,
so
this
what
is they let podcasts in here. Like those tables behind her. You see those?
Yeah.
You just imagined us posted up back there doing an episode of the show, live stream sniping it in real life, and just going back there saying liar.
Live stream sniping. We have a camera set up just looking at the back of her head.
Yes. You're a liar, Lauren Chen. That's wrong. That's not correct. Just and then people who aren't watching just listening to the audio, not hearing her audio. It's just us going, no. All right, I'm gonna get off of this. I don't even want to watch this shit anymore. To be honest.
It's so dumb. Fuck her.
All right. Sorry, I disabled my camera. Now we gotta take a quick detour to one more thing, and it's in the same vein. People, you gotta bear with me. We need to do this very quick because I've got what we're looking at right now for listening audio. Vice President Kamala Harris grilled on pivotal issues as election nears on special report. Kamala Harris went on Fox News and was interviewed about very, very basic things that you would think she would have memorized beforehand. And I think you could be forgiven for believing that Kamala Harris is actually trying to tank this. And if this has been one big troll from her, I might come back. I think she deserves every vote she gets at that point. But I just wanted to show this because the theme of tonight is women getting tased. It's women in uncomfortable situations. So let's just throw this up. Just to catch the first bit here.
Madam Vice President, thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Brett.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
I just wanted to highlight that very briefly because this is how you treat someone like her who's doing the HR lady face, where, you know, she's expecting to play to an audience where like, oh, we're going to watch her eyebrows and that's supposed to paralyze you. No, just barrel through her with the killdozer of your argument. Say, no, shut up. Answer now. Really, you need to have a deranged, methed out warrior's attitude. And if you do that, you know, in life, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yep. And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan.
Just listing other actions. This is nakedly buying time.
But with this one, though, you got to stick to it, though, because if you follow this through and you listen to the sentence, the ending of the sentence is a total non sequitur. The end of the sentence doesn't relate to how she started it, and it's beyond just, you know, buying time. She can't hold more than 20 words in her head, I think. Like, she can't form thoughts.
Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the elite. Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish.
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up.
Like, his eyes just like, no, I'm not going to. Your consent is rejected.
Yeah.
Responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people.
Can I just say something? And I was going to see if she finishes her point, because I apologize to the listeners. I was saying, like, oh, she's going to wrap up any second now, then we could jump in. And she just kind of keeps going.
She never wraps up. She never does. And if you follow her along and if you realize that the thing that she ends on is not the thing that she started on, I know politicians do this a lot, but like the thing that she ends on is not only the thing she started on, it's not even related. It's not even fucking related. She ends up talking about the number of times that she pivots during this to talk about something Donald Trump did during an actual attempt to explain an answer to the question. And then trails off and talks about, remember that time Trump did the XYZ? It's like, hold on a second. Weren't you just going to tell me?
Also, there's one thing that I'd like to point out, and this is probably just a non-important issue, but when it's very frequent when you bring up mass migration, this one phrase pops up: young military-aged men. People love saying military-aged men. I don't. And I also don't even like focusing on men. I don't think it fucking matters. Like, as if, you know, you'd be like to say, oh, these men are more criminals.
Yeah.
No, the women are criminals too.
Yeah.
Like, the women are fucking doing nasty shit too. Like, they're all fucking criminals.
You know, and you're right too, because the other thing is it gives them an out. Like, I don't know if you saw this video circulating the other day about, there was an elderly white Canadian woman, looks like in Toronto, being harassed by an Indian guy. And he kind of gets her because he speaks French fluently and she can't speak French. And he's like, I'm more Canadian than you because I can speak French. And she gets really pissed and storms off. And it's like, you don't get to play these little games where it's like, hey, I'm not a criminal. Hey, I have a good job. Hey, I can speak both languages. That means I'm more. No. That's not how it works. I am a person here. This is my country. and I'm of this nationality, I don't give a fuck what boxes you check. You're not one of us, and I get to decide that unilaterally without your consent and without your input. This isn't how it works. You don't get to just say, oh, well, these guys are military aged and criminals, therefore reject them. By the corollary of that is, well, the children, we have to let the children in. No, fuck the children.
No.
Fuck women. Fuck all of them. And
Yeah.
I don't have to give you a reason. The reason is because they're not us. I don't recognize them. Fuck, you could tell me they're from the neighboring state. I don't give a fuck. They're not from this place. I don't recognize them. Get them out of here. Like you don't need to give anybody a reason.
It doesn't matter what percentage of them are going to join a cartel or are a part of the cartel. You know, it's probably pretty high, but I'm like, that's not even the issue. I treat every single one of the men, women, and children as if they are a cartel because they fucking are.
The nicest, friendliest ones have to go back just as much as all the others. They all have to go, all of them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, but here's the thing, I don't care. And it can't just be, you know, your typical conservative or even a libertarian will try and appeal to the law. It's like I'm the law. I am the law.
Yeah.
And so are you, and so is everyone. There is no free floating organism called the law. Like the Constitution only exists because you're willing to shoot someone over it. It doesn't just exist as like a dragon floating over America. Like what I assume China believes it's Confucianism is literally a dragon perched in the clouds. You know, like it begins and ends with you. That's the whole thing. Like Judge Dredd says, you are the law. And I'm saying, I don't fucking care. Well, what about the child? I don't care. What do I want? A bunch of fucking kids? Get out of here. No, my kids.
Yeah.
They were born here. I don't care. Get out. I'm going to pick you up by the scruff of your neck and throw you into Mexico. I don't care if you're Indian. Can I show you something, by the way?
Let's see it.
This is some Twitter bullshit, but it's very funny. This is going to be guest starring Fortisax right here.
That's the one. That's the fucking video I was just talking about.
Yeah. So this is the video. I guess we'll just watch it right here.
You're not Canadian. All right, then where should I go back to? Ma'am, why were you aggressive to me?
Just listen to that fucking voice. Ma'am, why are you aggressive to me?
I'm being aggressive to you because too many Indians are in Canada, and I want you to go back. Okay. Go back. But I'm Canadian. Go back to India. I'm Canadian, ma'am. Your parents are not Canadian. Your grandma is not Canadian. So what wrong did I do to you? I'm just trying to understand, like, what wrong did I do to you?
This is the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
What wrong did I do to you? You haven't done anything, dude. I'm sure you're very sweet. Get on a plane tomorrow before something bad happens to you, though. Seriously, because you don't belong here. And you don't get to explain to me why you do belong here. It's my fucking house. It's my house. I say who comes and who goes. You'd have no say in the matter. Get out before somebody gets hurt, dude.
Yeah, it's like I could conceivably deport this individual somewhere. It would be impossible to deport you and me.
Yeah.
Right? Like there actually isn't an original.
Nowhere else for us to go. We don't have a point of origin aside from here. This is our place.
This is fucking it. I can trace my family tree back like 6 generations and more, right? You know, like the old fucking Anglo stock.
The other part of it is the people in our, because they all also say, oh, Canada's a land of immigrants. Well, guess what? Our ancestors that came here, they didn't move here because there were a lot of jobs, and they didn't move here because they had like good healthcare. They came here with guns and swords, and they absolutely conquered and liquidated the natives. And then they built everything with their fucking hands, and many of them died. So that's why it belongs to us. To me, it's the homesteading principle. We built this shit. We fought for it. And the idiots who were here first sucked, and we beat the shit out of them. So it's ours now. So, and again, if you want to fight us for it, let's have the fucking fight. Let's have the fight. But this whole thing about like arguing the morality of who gets to have it, no, there's no argument. Get out.
Personally, what wrong did I do to you? You hardly speak English. Je parle français. I speak English as well. I speak French.
Je parle français. Like you.
This is a great. I just love this interaction. She says, "You hardly speak English. And then he responds with, Je parle français. Do you speak French? I speak French. No, she didn't say you don't speak English, you illiterate retard. She said you hardly speak English. In English, hardly means you can kind of do it, but not very well. So your English is so bad that you don't even understand what she meant when she said hardly, because you clearly hardly speak English. You're just at the cusp of speaking. We can just barely understand what you're fucking saying.
And also, like, what WhatsApp group did you get that talking point from? Because I noticed there's a lot of these Indian guys, like they're speaking from a script. And like, I know how you people operate. So this is like your friend saying, say this to them.
Yeah.
Est-ce que vous parlez français? Do you speak French?
I do. I speak
On peut
French.
parler en français. Venez, on peut discuter en français si vous voulez. Je suis Canadien. I'm Canadian.
Fuck off.
Incomprehensibly bad French. And anyways, if he's just taken his citizenship test, he would have had to memorize that for the test. But again, the fact that you do that doesn't mean anything, dude. That doesn't make you one of us any more than it makes me Indian if I go there and, you know, lick cow shit for a week.
Okay, so let's go through this exchange. There's that. Then there's Darjeet Balak, Irishman. My parents immigrated to Toronto in the 80s. I'm very much a Canadian citizen.
No.
Fortisax, our good friend Fortisax, says, damn, that's crazy. My family came here in 1605. You're not Canadian. You never will be. Someone not dead yet. Now, this is going to be the star of this following exchange because it's been me and him going at it. This is a brown guy of some kind, I believe to be an Indian guy, but he's got an image of Homelander with his laser eyes. So he's got a white guy. Very common occurrence for them. It says Canadian isn't a race, it's a nationality. You guys make my shoelace seem to have more brain cells than you. So this would made me think he's kind of Arab. It's a shoe insult. These guys, and I'm bringing this up in one of my comments, they got two insults. Your mother's a whore and you are a shoe. It's one of those two. So in Fortisax starts making some points, and he had a post here that he deleted it. The post was, I'm going to say this from memory, it's like, yes, I'm brown, we're here, we're going to take your lifestyle, we're going to take your country, and in 20 years you're not going to be here. That's what he said. And so my response was, look how fast it takes the brownoid to pivot to their true intention. They really aren't good at debating reason. So within one movie, you can get them to admit to genocidal intent. Cracked out black teenagers are somehow more subtle. And it's like, this is how far we go. He keeps using this crying meme for me because I keep owning him in the debate because he switches up to this thing Indians love to do. So be prepared for this. They're going to start saying that you're white, so you're a cuck and your women are whores. And so this is what he said. Farsack says, we wipe our ass with a piece of paper you think makes you Canadian, because he says, I'm a Canadian citizen. We dominate the job market. We have the highest earning households. He works in STEM, he says. And Farsack says, wipe your ass with a piece of paper. He says, the same amount of OnlyFans subscription fee your wife and mom got to pay for your Wi-Fi, motherfucker. Like, just incoherent, right?
Yeah.
Of a leading STEM graduate.
It is worth pointing out, leading STEM graduate. And I have no doubt that he actually is, because in my industry, all of the STEM people are actually Indian, and they are this retarded and their English is this bad. But you can see how, like, you and Fort are clearly like rage typing to him rapidly as well. But at least your sentences make sense in English. His is just full of typos and
I don't like the implication that I was mad on the internet. I was not mad. I was calm. I was sipping.
It's okay to be mad, dude. It's okay to rage. Rage against the vagine.
Biscuit and coffee. Rage against the vagine.
Yes.
And they go, so that he gets to cry about it. He does this gif here, like, brown people learn to use social media by watching white women. Most likely it was your mom. I'm like, so just to be clear, you learn how to use social media from stalking my mother. It turns into a cuck thing, and basically the conversation is like him saying, oh, I was looking for your mother on cuck on the porn site. I'm like, I mean, you guys like cuck porn, so I get that you're a consumer of cuckold porn. You can sort of jujitsu this and do like, I get that you like watching porn of white women a lot. And then he got very, very mad at that later on. But anyway, I just wanted to, I'm not going to go through a fucking Twitter thing, but I'm saying be prepared for when they say like, it takes you one move to get the average Indian and brown person just saying, yeah, and we're going to fucking genocide you. They'll do it fast. They're not subtle. They're pretty stupid. And then within 2 moves, you'll get them saying like, yeah, but your your sister's a whore on OnlyFans. They'll bring up OnlyFans. And you can quickly pivot that to that they're just a pervert who's on OnlyFans all the time. And they actually don't know what to do with that. They begin to short circuit. All right. So anyway, and I just had one comment here I wanted to bring attention to. Zhang Wei had said, Kamala Harris has the facial structure of an MMA fighter. He does. She's a very butch lady. Anyway, maybe enough of this. I don't need to go back on the Kamala Harris. That was just sort of a lead in to the other stuff. I want to talk about, let's do the thing we're here for. All right.
Yeah, here we go.
Like a time cube here. I didn't know much about time cube. I heard it brought up a few times. And it's this legendary website that was around, I believe, in the late 90s even, and it's here kept for posterity on a Wayback Machine site that now has its own URL, timecube.online. It's kept in a frozen state by people who I guess are adherents to it. It was written by, we'll scroll down here. This is the author. First of all, this has 274 million hits. 1997 to 2005. The original career is Dr. Jean Ray, who we're going to get to in a second. But I just thought we could do a live read of this and give our thoughts.
Yeah.
I will let you know there is a donation button on the site. You can choose to donate to it. However, Dr. Ray is dead, so I don't know who the fuck's getting this money. Because I clicked on it and it still works. So I don't know what that's about. So I haven't clicked around this site too much. And who's it got by? Endangered Noob Productions, LLC. Man, what a time to be alive when people still said noob. All right, so, and this shouldn't be unfamiliar to people who follow this show because we've talked about spinal catastrophism. My project that I want to attempt tonight is to merge Time Cube with spinal catastrophism.
All right.
I think we can do it. This project is going to be tentatively titled The Gayest Shit I've Ever Attempted. Also, Owen said, can we adjust those hits for inflation? Fair enough. I'd say we're getting close to 1 billion because what's a hit? A hit's just someone who viewed the site, but I think they're filtering for the real ones.
Yeah.
Time Cube 4 CE. In 1884, Meridian Time personnel met in Washington to change Earth time. First word said. So this isn't written particularly well, but anyway, because do you know much about this guy, by the way? What's your background with Time Cube? Like,
I don't. I watched a documentary on it a few years ago. It seemed like Florida man. He's Florida man. I don't know if he really was a doctor or if he was a fucking pediatrician or something. I don't fucking know, but he's clearly not a time doctor.
Do we have time doctors? So first word said was that only one day could be used on Earth to not change the 1 day marshmallow.
Of course they would say that.
So we're gonna have a lot of sentences and a lot of terms in here that I think are going to be crucial to developing this theory that I'm trying to start. So someone who's watching, jot that down, that first part about the 1 day marshmallow. So they applied the 1 day and ignored the other 3 days. The marshmallow time was naturally, the marshmallow time was wrong then, and it proved wrong today. This major lie has so much boring feed from its wrong. So here's the thing. I had heard that this site, as I read a description of the site, it goes sort of chronologically from the bottom to the top. So I hear that like the stuff down here was the earliest stuff and the stuff at the top is the latest. So this very much is one man's descent into madness.
You're right. So what we just read was probably his last words, his dying words.
Is this dying breath, as all of ours should be, was committed to an online blog. We got Tree Surgeon here, says, nice, get into it, fellow spinal cube time catastrophists. I already put it in my Twitter bio. Thank you for that, Tree Surgeon. So yeah, we were watching. I think it probably gets more clear as we go down. No man on earth has no belly button. True. It proves every believer on earth is a liar. So anyone that believes in one day is not only been propagandized and scandalized, but they're a liar as well.
Yeah. Instead of 4, right?
Now, this is something I like to bring back. We really got out of the habit of changing font sizes in things. Websites used to be cool. The internet used to be cool. We used to have different colored fonts. Things were underlined. There was flaming text. Things used to make sense. I could say he's yelling this at me right now because the words have gotten so big and blue.
Yeah.
Like a wizard's voice booming to you. That's how I read this. It says children will be blessed for kicking of educated adults so not kicking them out, just kicking of educated adults who ignore 4 simultaneous days, same Earth rotation, practicing boring oneness upon Earth of quadrants. So really,
the capitalization and upon Earth as one word, like I love this. This is so like the word of is capitalized. Man.
He was writing this as the cops were breaking down his door. He had to get this out.
The following sentence: boring adult crime versus youth. Period. Damn, man.
This, unironically, this is written like Nick Land would write something.
Yes. What was the thing? And then, look, I unironically think Nick Land is halfway between a true retard and a grifter and deserves no actual respect. And it's funny to me that people treat Nick Land like a serious thinker because this is actually Nick Land. Nick Land doesn't make any sense. He is a fucking retard. But this is beautiful because this guy was just totally gone. He was just pure schizo. He was not actually attempting to make sense, which is great.
Yeah, and so this is written like the meltdown essay. Supports live integration. One educated are most dumb. So the idea here that was explained to me, and I'd read this before, was that the central thesis is that one day is actually 4 days. And that's really it. And look, I'm going to put a little highlight here. If you scroll down, there's some graphs here. I actually like this teach the controversy. And this is it. Earth has 4 days simultaneously each rotation. You erroneously measure time from one corner. So one day is 4 days. And you know what this is written like? Do you remember Toynbee tiles?
No.
So there's this urban legend. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this. Toynbee tiles. It was sort of like a mystery. I think it happened in like fucking Austin or something. So I'll switch over to this tab for a second. This was they found these images sort of stuck on the pavement and no one knows how they got there. And for people who can't read, it's Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001 resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. And they would just find these. They didn't have any records of them being placed or anything, but it was just like an odd fragmented message. And they find more and more of these House of Hades tiles made from the ground bones of dead journalists. This is not an accident. It's just weird shit like that. But this is kind of written like that, just kind of incoherent stuff. Like, okay, 4 days, one rotation is one full day. 4/16 cube divinity, it says here. And, here's an image of him. Here's the man, the legend right here, the good doctor. If I was old, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm acting out of pocket right now. If I was old, I would want more young images of me in circulation. Like when you look up dimes on Wikipedia, I would hate for the image to be me when I'm 90. I think you should allow people the dignity of only using their young images when you're including them.
It depends, right? If you're supposed to be like a heroic leader, you'd probably want to see like the 30s, 40s. But if you're like a scientist or a philosopher, I think it's fine to put you when you're gray. But past 80, everybody looks decrepit. So remember like the pictures of Einstein or like say like Milton Friedman. If you see like even film reels of Milton Friedman in the 80s, looked like he was a peppy guy, but then you see him before he died and he was getting shopped around all over the place. He looked like a fucking skeleton.
Have you seen Jimmy Carter?
Oh man, yeah. It's but even Bill Clinton's looking pretty rough. But again, it's like just get out of the public eye because you don't want people to remember you like it's gross, dude. Come on.
I need to find the image. Okay, I'm gonna pull up an image, and do not be shocked when you see this. Look at this image here of Jimmy Carter at age 100.
Fuck. They let him vote?
Yep, for of course Kamala Harris, but he is gone.
How is he alive?
Look at this. There's his eyes are gray. This is shameful. Like if someone you shouldn't do this to people, right?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing because this is the last thing they're going to remember of Jimmy Carter. The last thing it should have been images of him. Like even here's him with he got shot in the face. It looks like most of what we know of Jimmy Carter is going to be him looking like he's a corpse. Look at this.
There is a quick drop. Think about what Biden looked like 4 years ago and what it looks like now. Like there's a really quick drop off in your late 70s, early 80s. For a lot of guys, it can be like 24 months where they go from looking like they're in their 70s to looking like a walking corpse.
I'm looking, the guy in a blanket if you're being wheeled out in a blanket
and you can't close your mouth.
Yeah, like if I were that old, I wouldn't want children meeting me. Do you want to see your great grandkids?
No,
I'd say
no.
Are they bringing a gun to shoot me in all my organs?
Are they bringing the organ gun?
Are you bringing your guts, blunderbusses? That's what happened to good old Ray here. So Time Cube. It is what it sounds like. It's a cube. Here's the thing that bothers me about Time Cube, and this is a total dumb guy question. This appears to be a Times Square because a cube, as you know, has more than 4 sides.
So, and this is why I say Nick Land is completely, actually, truly retarded, and that everybody just gives him too much credit. You kind of want to do the same thing, where it's like, okay, look, I'll give you a pass. A cube cube involves squares. You just drew some squares. You didn't even try to draw a cube, but I'll take. No, you know what? Fuck you, Gene. That's a square. I'm not buying it. I don't owe you shit, Gene or Nick. I don't owe you anything. That's a fucking square. Call it what it is. It's a Times Square.
It's a Times
Square. At no point is this a cube, dude.
I feel like that's a big blunder to make at the start of this.
The entire thing is about it being a cube, and it's always just a square.
And I brought this up on the last episode I did with Prudentialist on our kind of sideshow, Do You Even Read? We're doing 3 parts on spinal catastrophism. And on the second one, I think it's important, as much as we find this stuff interesting, as engaging as it is, and everyone likes getting into the weeds of this esoteric stuff, and especially if you're on the right, you're wading into waters from like the post left, right? So the fact that you're even doing that is pretty brazen. But I'm like, you do need to establish where you think it's wrong, right? You do need to say, okay, we're having fun, this is interesting, but here's why I don't think this is actually true. And the big thing of spinal catastrophism, and if you didn't watch that episode, it won't make sense to you. But it's like there's this one part where he's talking about geotrauma, geo being the planet Earth, and that going into the crust of the Earth and towards the center of the Earth is like going back in time, because you're going back through the layers of how the Earth was formed. And that makes sense, right? Okay, you're going back.
That's pure schizophrenia. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's 100% unadulterated schizophrenia.
It makes more sense than saying that going down the spine is like going into the planet.
But do we gauge truth and value based on comparing one schizophrenic, fever dream to another? Because neither one of those things is true or real. You're just comparing one schizophrenic thing to another.
No, it's true in the sense that there was the core of the molten core, and then it kind of gathered the rest of the planet around it, so it would have formed from the inside out over the course of millions of years.
It's totally useless for the normal person's understanding of the world in terms of decision making or erudition. Like it is pure fluff and
but I say, what you're doing is you're standing back and saying this is useless to me. What I'm doing is I'm entering into it and saying even within the logic of this thing, it doesn't work, because it's not obvious to me that the spine is formed the same way as a planet is.
Of course.
Because if you're saying that going towards the center of the Earth is like going back into the history of the planet, okay, but the spine wasn't evolved from the bottom up. We didn't start off as like a section of spine and then over time grew into a fucking head. So to say that descending the spine's like descending in the Earth and that's like time travel, I'm like, Well, no, because that's not what a fucking spine is or does.
I totally agree with you, and I'm glad that you dove into the schizo and found a way to disassemble it internally. But what my fear is very often people dive in and they find one string or one pattern that does match, and they pull on that thread to try to rationalize everything else that's in there. And I think that's why Nick Land has a Twitter account. I think that's why I know his name. I shouldn't know his name. He's a boneheaded retard who's never contributed anything to anyone. But we all talk about him because there's a lot of people who very seriously think that he's somehow contributed to society. So, but there isn't actually anything there. If you're serious about it, there isn't anything there. And so I haven't read all. I've just read enough of it to realize, wow, this guy he's the 21st century post-left snake oil salesman. And it's really sad that people genuinely read his work.
I guess you're not going to be tuning into our show then.
No.
So you got Odin Tom saying to be frank, spinal catastrophe is not meant for normal people, and it does justify its own statements, usually even if it's metaphors or ho-hum, which
but you see what you're doing there though, right? See, but now I'm just the normal guy. You're the genius, the big-minded fella who
Please
gets
don't turn on our audience.
Metaphor and
Please don't.
Fuck big niggerhead dare Autumn Tommy. If you genuinely think that I'm too fucking normal to understand that, I have a fucking bridge to sell you, dude. I don't know what else to say. It's very sad.
He's going at everyone. This is the perfect episode to do this.
I deeply despise Nick Land. Yeah, but look, I hate everybody, so don't take it personally.
This is what I bring to the show. I go into these waters and bring it back, and just so you can look at this banquet I bring before you and put your feet up on it.
Absolute trash, and I'm like, now I have to clean this up. Fuck.
Clean it up, pig.
Clean it up, Judas.
Clean it up, Jews. The point I was making for, just to end on this, was that, like, as much as we like it, we have to admit that it does have, like, there's something wrong with it, because if we can't admit that, then it's 100% right. But we also understand that something like spinal catastrophism and some of these other ideas, they are grounded in a very nihilistic outlook, in my opinion. And the end of spinal catastrophism, which we talked about on the show, was that the purpose of intelligence is to destroy the universe. It is a very nihilistic outlook. And if you disagree with that, then you have to be able to trace that back and figure out why it doesn't work using its own rules. And I think you can do it. That's something that I like to do, and not just be hostile to it out of hand, but I'm like, I will play this game, but here's where I think you're reaching, not you, but him.
Yeah. And this is where I get to, right? So, and because I see Tommy saying in the comments, he's just saying that all writings have an audience. I totally get that. And I was going to make the comment that I think a lot of people read him essentially as like a slam poet type thing, which I get, because there is a flow to it. And there is kind of an artistic, metaphorical, like, marriage of words and concepts. I actually love that. And I enjoy reading this stuff sometimes for that reason. It's like a comic book.
Sorry, I can't hear you right now. You cut out there.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Keep going.
You get to the point where he actually makes a philosophical conclusion that's really jarring, such as intelligence, its only purpose is to destroy the universe. And that's something that you either have to disagree with, and then he's going to defend it, or you have to believe it and defend it to other people. Like, I think it's like the whole thing we say, don't accept the left's frame. Like, don't accept Nick Land's frame for anything, because he's going to lead you down the garden path with nothing better than bad poetry. And then at the end say, because of this tome of poetry, you must now believe that intelligence is meant to destroy the universe. Like that, dude, that's crazy. It doesn't matter what he said if everything that he said made no fucking sense and it was all metaphor and poetry. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And that's, like, I've heard a lot of people dismiss Hegel because of its association with Marxism, but I've heard an interesting case be made from sort of right-wing Christians about the value of the Hegelian dialectic and how that relates to good and evil and the logos of God. So that's kind of what I'm interested in, which is that I see, because I can kind of unravel what they're doing, I see the seeds of their nihilism, but then I can kind of dig through some of the ideas and say, well, that's interesting. So usually I'll disagree with great swathes of what they're saying, but I'm like, but there's something I'm catching a vibe. I'm catching a vibe with some of the stuff that interests me, and I'm just gravitating towards that. You know, I look into it just to see where it kind of goes off the reservation, but that's just of interest to me, because I know you probably disagree with this, but I do think enough of it is usable, even though, you know, there's a lot of, like for Nick Land, I think some of the problems is I don't like a lot of the sci-fi stuff. I don't like a lot of the slam poetry stuff. Like The Thing, and I think it was Tree Surgeon here, he might have said it. Someone had said that they like Nick Land's writing, but they don't like, Tree Surgeon. I like Nick Land, but I hate the Meltdown essay, his most famous essay. I agree. If you read Nick Land's articles that he writes for like Compact Magazine, they're a different beast entirely. I'm like, you could just read his articles about the canon wars and things like that, and it's just a regular guy. But if you go into the CCRU stuff, it's slam poetry, sci-fi,
well, there you go.
Afrofuturism, and then
I'll eat my hat.
On top of that,
I haven't read any of his, I guess, normal writing. The only part of his writing that I'm familiar with is the stuff that everybody's always posting, which is that this spinal catastrophism and the fucking the shit about the nothing human survives the future. And like, as I feel people take that very seriously, and I get that there's a grain of truth to it. He's just fucking wrong about all of it. And he also is not, in my opinion, not a very well-researched person, because whenever I hear him talk about technology, he clearly doesn't know a lot about technology or science. He's just like, he's like that. Who's that fucking guy? The Indian guy who believes like string theory is connected to the Bodhisattva.
Oh, fuck, I know his name. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's like that guy. Like, he has a very Wikipedia understanding of a lot of scientific concepts, and then he's pulling it together to make big airy points that nobody wants to defeat because they like the way they sound. But it's not very serious, in my humble opinion as a working guy.
I know. I gotta find this guy, and what I did was I went into Google and searched Indian guy superposition, because I know he's made that argument. Like, he'll take like the word superposition and try and fuse it with spirituality. Deepak Chopra.
Chopra. Nick Land is a white Deepak Chopra. Yeah.
I've got a question here. Tree Surgeon, is Moynihan Land, Moynihan the author of Spinal Catastrophism? No, he's just using the foundation laid by the CCRU and kind of building up from that and the idea of geotrauma.
So it's a guy who took Nick Land so seriously that he wrote his own book about the same bullshit.
He basically took some idea, like the CCRU writings, they mention this thing called geotrauma about a planet being traumatized, but they don't expand on it. They just leave it there. And it's up to you to be like, well, that sounds interesting, but what the fuck is that? So that this is the whole book on that. Man. And I thought, I'm like, okay, wow. Interesting. And there's another question here. Tommy says Fang Numina is nauseating. And I started off way back when covering Fang Numina, which was his Nick Land's first collection of stuff. Like, I'm not someone who is foreign to Nick Land. We've read a lot of his stuff, so I treat this stuff very seriously. So that's why when I offer criticisms, like, I'm not just some fucking asshole, who just doesn't. Yeah.
And look, the only reason I'm engaging with it in such a
I wasn't calling you an asshole, by the way. That might sound like I didn't mean that.
I'm just saying the reason that I'm engaging with it in such a serious way is because it is so prevalent and everybody's always talking about it. So it's like, at some point, I guess I have to have an opinion on it. And we've done a bunch of different shows where we've talked about it, and I haven't read it. Just getting the impression this guy's fucking he's insane.
Well, like, even, and that's what I like to do with Time Cube, where it's like, it's easy to dismiss this. I'm willing to dive into this. It's like,
no, but really, if you just take two steps back, Gene Ray is actually a schizophrenic. Like,
this is just nonsense. But
yeah,
this is what I do instead of watching Netflix. I would recommend people do that instead of watching like Agatha After All. This is a better use of your time. But what I was going to say was, even within Spinal Catastrophism, like, I'm willing to enter into this and really pick it apart within its own context. And we did that with Phantom Time. You remember that?
Yes.
We read a whole book about the concept of Phantom Time, and I took it seriously. And I said, you know what? I'm willing to go with you on this journey. And then the funniest part was when, the Phantom Time was this idea that there's roughly 300 years that have been added to the calendar, that the current time is actually 300 years in the past, and there's a conspiracy by essentially the church to fabricate these years and also fabricate the entity known as Charlemagne. So in this model, there is no Charlemagne, and that there was no Dark Ages at all.
Yeah.
It's just a period that was invented. And then
never mind all of Chinese history, which had way better record keeping through the Dark Ages. And we didn't even touch on that in the episode, but like there's insane amount of record keeping during the Middle Ages in the Chinese Empire. So whatever.
But the funniest thing was, like, even ignoring that, because that's a very, very good point. But even ignoring that, we got to a point in the book where how was this able to happen? Like, how were they able to create this fraud, this counterfeit? And they said he had to admit that, well, they were able to do that because there basically was a Dark Ages around that same time. So it's like the entire idea of this still requires a Dark Ages to have happened.
It's not your Dark Ages, it's my special Dark Ages. All right, I own it now.
Yeah, it's just, this is a different Dark Age. But I'm like, okay, that just breaks this whole fucking thing, doesn't it? And it's fun. It's interesting to go with you and say, oh, by the way, Muhammad never existed. Muhammad was just, they're aping Christ. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to throw that out on Twitter, say Muhammad's made up. Who doesn't want to use this as shitpost fuel?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that's true.
Like the slaves that fell off the slave ships and then turned into the Atlanteans.
Also from the CCR. See, you remember. We talked about this.
But the thing is, like, you can write that, and that people take it so seriously that they want to write another book about that topic is the reason I feel like I have to, for my own sanity, stand up and say, we all know that this is complete 100% bullshit from top to bottom, right? Like, it is a big joke, right? And I'm just not in on it. It's got to be a joke, because there's no way people genuinely believe any of this.
Well, it is a joke, but I used to think that my life was a tragedy, but I've come to realize that it's a comedy.
Nick Land is gonna get what he fucking deserves, and what I mean by that is he's gonna get he's gonna get tenure at ACLU, probably.
You're gonna get what you fucking deserve. A lovely life into retirement. Sorry, we got coming from Owen Zaleski. Nick Land's book titles sound like good metal albums. Tommy, for want of an aesthetic philosophical project, the kingdom was lost. I like that. That's a good line. Maybe that's the title of something. Bill Wilson, Judas being garroted by Nick Land in the background. Wiggler's Meat, the problem with Chinese records is all in Chinese.
Fuck. Oh no, you know what? I forgot about that. We'll never know.
Let's be honest. Have the Chinese ever been trustworthy, says Bill Wilson? Maybe, honestly, maybe China's fucking new.
Maybe China's the one who did it. China invented Charlemagne.
Maybe China's fucking new, brother. But a lot of people in the chat are saying they use this as like fuel for their own fiction. And just to do a sidestep there, you were talking about Afro-Atlanteanism before. Yeah. For those who don't recall, that Afro-Atlanteanism was, again, is one of those things that was mentioned. And I don't know if it's mentioned seriously or what, but it's like, oh, it's this thing where like the slaves who leapt off the slave ships in the Middle Passage on their way to Africa to America, they went in the ocean and then just miraculously survived and kept swimming deeper and deeper and deeper and found Atlantis and became a new type of Atlantean. And that's it. And that to me, I read that, I'm like, if this was a fucand pitch for a cartoon, it would get rejected. Like, this isn't even an idea.
Presented without comment. Yeah.
And I'm using spinal catastrophism, TBH. All right, so here we go. Let's get back to Time Cube. So, which in reality is Times Square.
Yeah, Times Square.
New believers of Cube of Time. Oh, so this is like just reviews of people. This is a good thing to go into. Like, here's the people who are really, really into Time Cube as sort of a guest book on the site. Let's see if we can detect if there's any sarcasm here, right? Because this thing to me, it's like outsider art. Do you know what outsider art is? You're an artist guy. Could you explain that to people for a second?
It's art where the authenticity comes from the foibles and mistakes of somebody who is not classically trained, giving it their best, and usually there's an element of them being unaware that they're being observed, if that makes sense. Like George Bush, people describe when George Bush left office, and that was a good example of outsider art because he started painting. I'm not sure if it necessarily is just because he was a president, but if you went and took like bad watercolor from like a yard sale and then you presented it in a gallery, that would kind of be, I don't know, it's complicated, but yeah, outsider art. This is definitely outsider art.
Here's how I describe outsider art very similarly, but it's usually stuff that's produced by a fucking psycho idiot, and then irony people look at it and say, this is actually great. And my exposure to this, the first time I was exposed to it actually was a character named by the name of Wesley Willis. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Wesley Willis?
No.
So Wesley Willis was a schizophrenic black man who decided to make really bad music, and enough like Seattle people heard about it and he got a career out of it. Debatable if he knew what was going on, but you know, he would just holler into a mic, and he had a Casio keyboard, and he would just play loops, and at the end of every song he would do like an advertisement. And I got a song here. It's called Rock and Roll McDonald's. So here's what you were dealing with here, if you can hear this.
Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock and roll McDonald's. McDonald's will make you fat. They serve Big Macs. They serve quarter pounders. They will put pounds on you. Rock and roll. Rock on Chicago.
So here's how we would end. You end by saying like rock on Chicago, and then you'd give an advertisement for some random product. So here's
Rock and roll McDonald's. Rock over London. Rock on Chicago. Wheaties. Breakfast of champions.
just an advertisement for Wheaties at the end there. But that's the thing. And it's like, he was obviously just an insane man. They said, no, it's actually good. Let's go see him live. And I'm like, how much of this is irony? Is this part of a prank? Like, are you making fun? And this is what always bothered me about Tim Heidecker too, because Tim and Eric, they would have this sort of supporting cast of just mentally unhinged people. And Tim Heidecker would say that the quote was something like, I'm not like Johnny Knoxville. I don't like trotting out these freaks to make fun of. But that is what he did. He would get guys like fucking David Liebe Hart.
Career.
Yeah, his entire career. And we're laughing at them. But you are the type of sort of shit-lit personality where that's not good to you. It's not good to punch down. So you tell this lie to yourself that no, I really like him. He's a good, kind soul. He's an old soul, and he deserves to be happy. No, you're actors. You're trotting out this motherfucker to laugh at him. Just be honest. And I kind of look at it with Time Cube. It's like, oh, we need to preserve Time Cube. I'm like, I get. How much of this is just you being ironic? Like, honestly, let's just be honest here. So I just want to read some of these reviews. I'm interested in joining the 4-day cubic army. I know that I must act quickly before the boring marshmallow education turns me into a brilliant unicorn. I want to help educate my parents about the truth of 4-day simultaneous days. Like, this to me, it's like, oh, you're playing along with an old dead man, obviously, but like, it's kind of like you're pranking him at this point.
It's like Chris Chan enablers who buy into everything about the dimensional merge and make it worse.
Yeah. So let's your demonstrate proof is highly convincing of the truth of the Time Cube, Earth, and the evil asses of the educated stupids. Thank you for your good luck. I mean, like, unless he just managed to magnetize all these other similar psychos, I'm like, you're all just making fun of him. You know that, right? Yeah. Look, I am the wisest and most insane person to ever exist. Plus, I'm truthless and unbiased. The phoenix has risen. Midas is honored. Like, it sounds like Bronze Age pervert, right? It's like, okay, yeah. We're marching towards Albion and all that shit. Okay, sure. So let's give it a shot. Sounds like I'm being too fair. Human form is a personified pyramid. Jot that down.
Axiomatic. Everybody knows this.
So there's an Earth. We got the circle here, cube around it. Socrates lives here at midday, right? Einstein lives here at midnight. Clintons live here at sundown. Jesus lives here at sunup. And I don't know how I feel about Jesus being balanced by the Clintons. By the way, not Bill Clinton, the family of the Clintons.
The clan. Yeah.
Just so Hillary Clinton's on the same level as Jesus. I don't know how I feel about this.
It was important for him to put his P.O. box on that graphic too. You notice?
For Hollywood to get in touch with them. So got KJ say, my friends and I used to sing that song nonstop in high school. Yeah, Leslie Willis. Like that was the thing. Like you would just, it's something you and your friends could scream at each other in the halls. Oh, also ONZ, for a Negro, it's not bad. That's like guy who's like never listened to any black person rap or sing, like Aretha Franklin. But it's like, yeah, I kind of imagined what black music would sound like. This isn't bad. Okay, so let's keep going. We are fair. I am a knower of four-corner simultaneous 24-hour days that occur within a single four-corner rotation of the Earth. God guys for unicorn scam. This looks like a link. It's not. It's just underlined. Scam enslaves four-day cube brain as oneist. Vilify teachers for unicorn swindle tithe from one-day retiree. See, I look at this. I'm like, okay, this is incomprehensible, right? I'm going to, because they say this kind of goes back further in time. Let's just scroll the middle and see if this gets a bit clearer. Okay, we're in the middle here. Warning, it says, ignore cube math at your own peril and of humanity. So, you know, they could have started with that, actually. That should have been at the top. You have a godlike brain, parallel, opposite, and analytical, wasted if you believe in one. So really, this is like a war against one.
This is the good conspiracy shit. So you gotta start with a warning. You got the fear of loss. Then you start sucking up to the reader like, you have a godlike brain. You are analytical, and it's wasted if you don't believe what I'm saying. So this is the good stuff. This is where you do get the cycle. You hook them, I think. Yeah,
you're an idiot. You're a fraud and a coward if you believe in one. By which he means, I think the idea of numerical one.
Yeah.
What I noticed, what I picked up when I was reading this was he really hates teachers and not professors, you know, because if you meant professor, you'd say professor. So it sounds like high school teachers. The primary purpose for education is not subject matter, but subservience to accept any crap taught without opposing thought, destroying opposite brain to be submissive android. It sounds like it's written by like an Arab guy. Mm-hmm. You're taught to be brilliant. No God equates simultaneous 4-day creation in one Earth rotation. He's got something against teachers, and I can imagine you reading that and saying, "Yeah, you know, schools teach you to be submissive."
Fair.
Yeah, fair. Okay, he's got me hooked. I'm also noticing it repeats a lot of this, so I'm really trying not to repeat any of this. I'm going to scroll ahead here. Okay, here. Hey, got a death threat from Temporal Phoenix last night. A new character emerges, the Temporal Phoenix. Saying that the big old boys that make the world go round, who are they? We don't know. Did I miss something? Are going to wipe me off the earth. They can't allow the time cube principle to continue. This is what I like about time cube. It's the urgency. It's that this needs to get out there or he will be killed. And by the way, he's dead.
He died. He did die. He done dead.
He predicted that he was one day going to die. Opposites create, not God, who equates unicorn creator and masturbation creation of boring oneness educators. So even there, like opposites create, not God. Like you could, if you wanted to, layer over sort of a Hegelian dialectical interpretation there if you wanted to.
But he wants to make the reader like God. But now he sounds like he's mad at God. He loves the idea of like the analytical opposites within the godlike human brain, but God himself or herself or whatever equates the unicorn creator with the masturbation creations of the boring oneness educators. So obviously, I mean, those are opposites that are being equated. Wouldn't you like that? Like now I'm diving into it and it doesn't make any fucking sense. But yeah, it is.
There's a question up here that I didn't get to, and it was, I think someone was asking if I was going to get to Bill Cooper one day. A lot of people probably didn't see this because it was a very, very early episode when a lot fewer people were listening, but we did behold a pale horse quite some time ago. And I think I might have fused that episode with Revolt Against the Modern World. So we covered Evola and all that shit way back in the day too, a few years ago. But yeah, I did Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper, and wasn't a huge fan. That's an interesting book, not similar to this. It's more coherent than this. But the Behold the Pale Horse that I read was a later version, because the earlier version, if I understand the lore correctly, contained the entire protocols of the learned elders of Zion. So they just chopped that out. Like anything anti-Semitic was removed from that book, but there used to be a lot more in there. But it's kind of a sloppy book in my opinion. And for most of it, there's actually some interesting stuff in there. The autobiographical stuff I liked. The end of it takes a real left turn. If you remember the book, if anyone's read it, it's kind of the holy grail of conspiracy books, or one of. Bill Cooper, big figure there. He spends a lot of the book kind of teasing out government conspiracy theories. His autobiography was actually pretty tame for the first bit, but like that last chapter, he just out of nowhere says that, oh, and by the way, the moon is habitable. Every government of the world has moon bases on the dark side of the moon, and the temperature and climate is tropical. And it just kind of leaves that there. I'm like, okay, what? And there's a lot of that at the end where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, and giants existed, but he doesn't go into it any deeper. And that was the problem I had with William Cooper. It's that he'll drop all the interesting paranormal stuff. He'll kind of just drop it like a delicate little Fabergé egg, but hope that you kind of gloss over it. And just one example, I remember early in the book, he's talking about his tour of Vietnam. He fought in Vietnam, and I have no reason to believe that that's fake. And it's a really interesting story. And he tells a story about being involved in some kind of firefight. He was on a boat in the jungle. It's like a really harrowing story, right? And then, but he would make these mentions later, and it's like, oh, we would I'd hear reports from intelligence that entire villages were disappearing, and we didn't know why. Anyway, and he would just move on from that. I said, no, wait, stop. You've just established your proximity to military intelligence. You need to tell me where that village disappeared, and don't give me geo coordinates, but say like, was it by this part of the Da Nang River or something? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to tell me a village vanished because of a UFO, give me a ballpark of where it was. But he never does that. And he would be the one who could do that if that were real. So all the interesting stuff, and a lot of these guys do this. They just kind of place it there and move past it without giving any detail. And that's, again, if I'm entering into the logic of this thing, like I'm trying to do here, I'm like, I'm trying to believe you, and I believe you enough that it's suspicious that you're not doing this right now. You see what I'm saying?
They gotta lay an egg there, like you're saying, so that your interest will be piqued and you'll keep following the story. But of course, if they get into detail, if you are unconvinced by it, then they lose all credibility. So it's in their interest, if they know what they're doing, to never explain what they're saying. Because if you do, you either got to be one of the few convincing ones, like Graham Hancock or somebody, or you're going to end up like Gene Ray, or
and my fault is that I like to believe these things. I'm a conspiracy guy. I love going into these forbidden zones and having fun, and just give me all the stuff, give me all the weirdest shit. And so I'm the audience for this. I'm the guy who's willing to meet you halfway. But I find that a lot of the time, if you enter into their frame of logic, but there's still problems, that's where I'm at with that.
And they won't explore the problems with you. And like I said, it's because they'll lose credibility if they do. So
True Surgeon, is he talking about the Arctic village that supposedly disappeared? No, he was talking about Vietnam villages, because he was saying, he was making a case that there was UFO activity during the Vietnam War in Vietnam, and that military intelligence was aware of it, because he kind of builds this into full disclosure UFO argument that the military knows. So he's saying, I have firsthand anecdotal experience from my time in Vietnam that they knew it was going on there. But he doesn't give any details about who said it even. Like, tell me a story where you overheard it even, right? Because if there's one thing that every veteran I know has, is if they have a weird story, it doesn't even need to be a tragic fucking Call of Duty story. It's just like a funny story even. They'll give you the details, right? Anyway, so moving on. Wikipedia claimed that the time cube is not science. Wikipedia says that this is not science, constitutes a grave error by the half. God constitutes a grave error by the half-brained bastard who can't think opposite of the lies he was taught. I was born to think cubic as in four-corner family life, therefore I rise above you. You are educated, brilliant. You are educated, boring. You will ignore message and attack the messenger. Honestly, he writes like Bronze Age pervert. Like this is just like a Bronze Age mindset excerpt from an alternate timeline. You worship an boring god who allows babies to starve to death while you gorge. God belief succumbs to the cubic law of nature. Okay, let me just I'm gonna zoom in here. Okay, I gotta make sure I'm getting this right.
Not making it up.
Opposite burrito organs prove male and female to be binary opposites equals zero value. Is he talking about genitals?
Yeah, opposite burrito organs, obviously. What do you call your dick?
Okay, so
you not call it an opposite burrito organ?
Okay, so someone jot that down. Opposite burrito organs. We're working that into spinal catastrophism.
Yeah, there's the meat and there's the tortilla. Obviously, how do you like? You clearly are not smart enough to understand the metaphors here.
No one has ever attempted what I'm attempting right now, which is a grand unified theory of all this horse shit. I can do it, by the way, because anyone can do anything. Because at the end of the day, I am a believer in hyperstition. So I believe that by me engaging in this, I am actualizing in the reality. Judas doesn't know how much of this I really like. I'm trying to play it cool. I'm trying to say, I'm with you, man. Little does he know, I'm all in with the dumbest shit in the world.
You literally are donating right now.
Your educated entities. This is what I'm saying to you right now. Hey, Judas, read this. He's talking about you. Your educated entity, stupid for all creation. It's you. Cubic time cubes. Earth, life, and truth contradicts one day gods and ineffable human. I'm going to skip ahead here.
I see Taco. He's got Taco again there. See? Okay. Right there. What unicorn mentality you have to worship an old dead Taco as God and creator?
Taco owners of religious academic Christianity have enslaved your ass. Okay, so I'm just going to...
Taco owners of religious... That's got to be the name of the episode.
I'm just typing that into the chat here so we can... Let's get that up here. My own comment. Have enslaved your ass. I mean, as true today as when it was written.
Amazing.
No God creates himself, and besides that, he is also composed of opposites that contradict entity, creation. And again, he's kind of sketching along the edges of an interesting idea there. Like I can, if I want to, put this under the microscope and say, yeah, I'll go with you on this.
You know what it is? It's like if you've got a box of puzzle pieces and it's 1,000-piece puzzle, but there's only 600 pieces and they're actually from 10 different puzzles. It's fun because you can see patterns that aren't actually there and you can put them together and you can create something for yourself like fiction that's beautiful. But you can't then step back and read something real into that. It's just like, I also see the patterns. There's a lot of really cool, philosophical patterns here. They are noise.
We got Tree Surgeon here saying, I still think you can reasonably fuse spinal catastrophism with Avolian distant right. And look, I'm over here with Judas. I'm feeding him bills of goods all night. I'm going over to Tree Surgeon saying, I agree. That's what I'm trying to do. We can do this. We can make everyone lose their minds, which is really what we should be doing. Yeah. All this anesthetizing theory cell stuff, enough with it. Shuffle it off the stage. We need more mind viruses.
Right.
And
make intelligence the enemy of the universe, finally.
Here we go. Winkler's made taco owners. He's mad about women teachers. That is, it's got to be burrito is the penis, the taco's the vagina, right? Yeah. I'm not even joking. I think that's what he means.
Taco owners? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so, hey, we have a new misogyny. New misogyny just dropped, so jot that down. Let's scroll ahead here. Ignorance of 4 days is boring. True. Life was boring until I discovered this. Singularity God is evil, as creation reigns as opposite. Sure. I think cubic, therefore I rise above the singularity. You are enslaved by world, no whip or shackle required. You do not have the freedom to discuss, debate, time cube. So I really like that as you're learning about time cube, he's calling you a faggot. Like I'm here, man. Like I'm at your house. I'm drinking your tea. Stop calling me a dumb piece of shit for not discussing time cube.
It's all we've talked about. Yeah.
Like he says here, you deserve death for singularity evil. I'm listening, man. I don't want to die. Okay, mom and dad, opposites occur simultaneously with a baby birth. Again, here, if I'm putting this under the microscope, like I said, the birth of a child is a miraculous event that manifests the mother and the father as the child is born from the mother. Hey, I'm with you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah?
Here he goes again, though, with the opposite burritos.
With a potential for creating opposite burritos, is what he says.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting further away from it. I thought I had the burrito thing, but
just when it starts to make sense.
Or maybe an opposite burrito is a vagina as well as a taco.
Wait, see www.abovegod.com. Is that a hyperlink?
It's not a hyperlink, but it's gonna be in a second. Abovegod.com. What does that take us to? It's just nothing. It's a nothing site right now. Okay, I guess it's not. It doesn't exist. Okay, sorry, I was waiting for something to load.
So I guess that's fair.
That's a good. Hey, maybe, right?
Yeah.
A lot of younger people don't know this. We used to make a lot of joke sites back in the day. We used to, the king of all being www.com. Very nerd type of thing. We used to do this shit all the time. So abovegod.com makes sense. Santa and God debase women as if non-existing opposites. That's something I want written down too. So whoever is keeping the notes here, we're going to return to that. How boring unto their mother's singularity educators are boring bastards, unfit to live on earth. Okay. Dog brain students. Oh, Jesus Christ. Cubic nature is omnific, infinite, ineffable, on harmonic duty today. Enough with the singularity. Jesus Christ. This guy could use an editor. Okay, so educators are lying bastards. -1 times -1 equals +1 is wrong. It is academic brilliantly and is boring. So is it wrong or is it boring? You know what I mean? Neither Earth or human exist as entities, but opposites. Which is, again, kind of an interesting idea. Like the only... what would that be? I've heard this before. It's like
we're talking about like people who consider themselves outsiders are themselves defined by their absence or difference from the group. So you could say that everybody can be defined by their opposite or by what they aren't. Like there's something there about like there's a duality to everything.
You know what? It also sounds like
you know what? If you look at it this way, there's no such thing as a singularity. There's no such thing as a single thing which can be defined axiomatically without it being referenced to something else, like on a scale. You know what I mean? Like there's hot and there's cold, but there's no such thing as a temperature, which is defined by neither hot nor cold. There's no singularity. So like there's a logic to it, but also why and who cares and what?
Also, this sounds somewhat like what Slavoj Zizek was talking about in his book Incontinence of the Void, which we talked about. And, you know, it's an interesting book. It's very much like this. Like you could put Zizek right alongside spinal catastrophism and all of that, because he's talking about sort of a very Lacanian view of Hegelian dialectics, and very sexual, very strange. But the incontinence of the void is like, it's a dialectical meaning that everything exists because it can't not exist. So it's like, you know, we exist because we are the opposite of nothing in a sense. And we are like nothingness's inability to actualize itself. You know, I'm probably doing a butchering job of it, but that's kind of like, I look at this and I'm almost certainly layering over my own shit on top of it. But I'm like, okay, you know, I can make this sound intelligible if I wanted to. And maybe he's gonna fuck me over by here. A singularity inflicted scholar has not the mentality, freedom, or guts to know that academia is a Trojan horse mind control. Singularity brotherhood owns your brain, destroying your ability to think. Cubicism, not cubism, by the way, cubicism. The half of Earth seen from space cannot exist without the opposite half not seen. So he's like talking about a photo of the Earth he saw before. The entity you seek is death. Educators teach assumed math, but are too damn dumb, brilliant, and boring to know that until word is cornered, math is fictitious. Okay, I invoke a curse upon the educators that their students will awake from their academic induced stupor and seek revenge.
Notice he uses brilliant as an insult.
I know. That's what I was trying to make sure I got this right.
Weird. Subservient and brilliant, boring, dumb, and brilliant. He keeps using like, I don't get it.
Here goes. Opposite burritos created you. Ignorance of the time cube, life cube, and ineffable truth cube indicates you brilliant. You know, we are over halfway done here, and aside from that graph at the start, like these images here, there's no information on what the fucking time cube is.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be like a graph or like a primer of some kind, but this is it, isn't it?
This is like when I read the Unabomber Manifesto, the first one by Ted Kaczynski. I haven't read his arguably more serious work, Technological Society. But like reading the Unabomber Manifesto, you're like, wow, he spends most of it just complaining about libs and women. It's not the sort of anarcho-primitivist.
But I mean, that's fair,
thing.
though. I mean, honestly, it's
but it's in a way that anyone can do it. Like your uncle could do it. Like I remember the Unabomber Manifesto was like, you know, people are fucking fags these days. Not, he didn't say that, but it's just like, you know, everyone's feminized and no one's cool anymore. I'm like, okay, I know, yeah, but you were probably hearing that on TV too. Like, was this manifesto worthy? What I wanted was something like Pentelinculus, you know, fucking, what was it? Deep ecology. Like, give me the radical stuff on why we should destroy technology, other than it makes people dumb, man. There's always been dummies, right? Anyway, I'm not going to get off on that, but it's. I'm seeing a lot of negative space around the time cube. Here we go. I have $10,000 that I will wager that cubicism transcends and disproves theism creation. $10,000 isn't a lot for that sort of wager, because you got guys out here saying, I will offer $1 million for someone to disprove string theory, and string theory is not even popular, and that's like $1 million. He's going to lose that $1 million soon. But 10 grand, I mean, that's a pauper's reward. Wait, here we go. Wait, isn't he a flat earther? Forget it. Winkler's Meat says you are bastard singularity taco, one is marshmallow brilliantly believer, and so on and so on and so forth. Doing the Zizek voice. Do we have a Zizek AI? Do you think
we should?
Yeah,
it'd be worth it to go on 11 Labs and make one. I think if somebody hasn't already,
there's gotta be one.
There's gotta be a dozen.
We already have trans dimes.
No.
Hi guys, it's me, Trans Dimes.
Jesus Christ.
Hi guys. Hi, it's Trans Dimes. Hi.
Bye. I'll see you guys later. Gross. Yes, it is actually.
All right. Scholars ravage Earth's resources. Scholars plunder America's nature. You know, if there's one redeemable characteristic of this, it's the seething hatred of academics and blaming them for everything in America. Nevada's 77,000-ton nuclear waste barrel should be made a monument to scholasticism's boring singularity. First sensible thing he said all day, we should make a monument out of toxic waste.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna keep going here. Let's see if we can get something here. Again, like this is one of those instances where like I'm here with you. Give me the good stuff, and it's not the good stuff. It's just kind of like William Cooper. I'm more bored.
A mother and a baby are the same age, as a 1-day-old baby has a 1-day-old mother. Okay,
you know what?
I've got that. I like that, because the mother, the child is a day old, but the mother is only a day old, because prior to that she wasn't a mother, unless it's a second kid, in which case it's not true.
Yes, that's like I'm looking at that. I'm like, that's very literary. That's very poignant. Like a mother and a baby are the same age because a mother is created the exact day a baby is born. Like, damn, that's great. But then if there is a second baby, I guess that collapses the entire scaffolding.
Unless the mother, the whole point is that a mother is an opposite to another entity. So a mother is a mother in relationship to another entity. So there's two mothers, one to sibling A and one to sibling B. But like, again, now you're beyond literary and now we're into weird esoteric shit again.
Yeah, you know, maybe are we being guys who don't know how to have fun? You know, like I want to have fun. Hey, you know, like, hey, good. I'm not going to try and poke holes in my own enjoyment. And he continues, I'm not allowed to lecture at the word animal. So they're word animals, okay, academic institutions, for they fear my wisdom will expose and indict the pedant hirelings as betrayers of dumbass students, the dung heads who allow their freedom of speech to be suppressed without a whimper. Unbelievable word animals. I like that. I like word animals.
You know what? This is the older stuff, right? This does actually go together a little bit more. Even the editing, like he's put the asterisk lines and it's same font, slightly smaller size, because that actually made sense.
Yeah. Wisdom equals cubic testing knowledge. Demand right to debate time cube. You know what? I would have demanded the right for him to debate time cube. I don't think he ever did.
If I was a student and as a joke in school I brought up time cube and the prof said, no, we're not debating that, I would actually be like, wait, what? I mean, if it's false, you should easily be able to disprove it. You know, here we go.
If all we accomplish in the coverage of this is that we have a new Holocaust that we can point to and say, why aren't we allowed to talk about that? Who's pulling the strings? Why is that the only thing I get fired for talking about anymore?
Yeah, you fucking brilliant singularitarians.
Yes, it's catching on, man. I like the singularitarians thing, man. The Gene Ray Time Cube interview will air on June 18th on Tech TV Unscrewed. Oh shit, he did it. I remember I remember Unscrewed.
What?
I used to watch that show. Holy shit. All I can find is that stupid fucking Down the Rabbit Hole documentary, but I'm gonna see if I can find this later. But yeah, I used to watch that show back in the day. Anyway, click below for brilliant linear time. There's no human entity, just human cubics. The man invented word and calls it God. The word world imposed by academic institutions is synonymous with the Matrix's induced dream world. Now, was this published before the Matrix came out? Because the Matrix was 99.
Yeah, so this is not even that old.
So this is
2005, right? Yeah, 97 to 2005.
Yeah, so maybe was he talking about the Matrix before the Matrix came out?
Well,
interesting.
I mean, yeah.
Let's say yes. It costs you nothing to say yes, Judas.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll go with it.
Sorry, I just want to call attention to Winkler's Meat comment here. Sir, a second baby has hit the mother. Belief has no inherent value, but worship of such non-value as a god equates to non-acceptance of cubic knowledge as demonstrated by ineffable truth and the highest order of wisdom. You know, this might be one of the only conspiracy theories that really hasn't mentioned politics or Hitler yet. And I'm impressed.
That's true. It hasn't mentioned anything of substance other than the hatred of academia, which we can all agree on, I think.
This answers the question. Did you see the movie Matrix? Shit. Shit. Do you see the movie Matrix? Actually, the induced night dream world is synonymous with the academic religious induced daytime word world. Yeah. All right. So that's kind of where I think that's where it starts. And then it goes up.
I'm imagining Florida man as a kid had a mother or an aunt or somebody who always used brilliant sarcastically, like, oh, that's just brilliant. And then it became for him, like, I wonder if he actually thinks that brilliant is a way of calling something retarded.
Yeah, it seems like he's reliving a lot of childhood issues here, not to psychoanalyze him. I just wanted to get to this. Believing is not knowing, but boring that ignore facts. Santa, vital to Christmas, underline here. No Santa, no Christmas. Why credit Santa lie with gifts that parents buy their children? It bribes the child.
He's mad about Santa.
It sounds like there is, I mean, come on, there's a theme of childhood shit going on here, right?
Yeah.
God is but an adult Santa extension of child Santa. So he's basically saying, I think he noticed that Santa and some depictions of God are both white men with beards, and he said, well, that's the same guy. So very atheist way of looking at it. So yeah, I'm kind of just skipping around here, seeing what I could find. It's the same stuff. Yep, Gene Ray offering $10,000. I guess that's about it, really. So yeah, I'm willing to bet that a lot of people who got excited about TimeCube probably haven't read TimeCube from top to bottom.
Because I've seen those diagrams, and I think I'd seen the Unscrewed interview or some pieces of it on YouTube, and I figured, because usually with this kind of grift, the guy will have some baffle them with bullshit like charts or a stack of papers that you never get to look at to try to convince you that, oh, I've done the math and this works out. He actually has nothing. He's not even trying to tell you. He's just insulting the reader and telling them that this is real. But he's always talking about it in the past tense as if this is something that's already been established and researched. But there's nothing. Yeah. Right at the very bottom, it starts with him saying, obviously TimeCube is real. You're an idiot if you disagree.
Well, and also this is what I noticed with David Icke, if we're just doing a tour through conspiracy theories, because we covered, I believe, David Icke's largest book, which was Everything That You Need to Know That You Were Never Taught. It's a crazy, huge, thick book that summarizes a lot of his previous books. He publishes a book every couple of years and has since the 70s. So he's got a massive library of books. But this one really brought together a lot of those. And everything from the moon being hollow to the elites being lizard people and all that. And it becomes clear that, he's got his early writings about this stuff. And then there's a hard and firm demarcation in the 90s where David Icke goes and watches the movie The Matrix, and then he starts writing books that reference The Matrix a lot. And he says, because prior to that, he had said that this information was delivered to me from these alien beings who were at war with the reptilians. There's a whole strange cosmology in there.
Yeah.
But I guess
it was like an 80s B science fiction movie. And then after 1999, suddenly it's The Matrix.
Suddenly it's like, oh yeah, it's actually like The Matrix. It's like this movie I seen. And David Icke has this nasty habit of going to see popular movies and then saying, oh, it's like that. My theory, I forgot that it's a lot like Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah. That there's a lot of that in there. The alien didn't tell me in the 80s that the queen's name Furiosa. You fucking retard. Like, that's the thing that, like, again, I read this whole book. I'm like, this is dumb as shit. And I want to believe it. And so for the people who are like, man, man, David Icke's got some good ideas. Like, no, he actually fucking does it if you take the time. And it's lazier than you'd think it is. Right.
And when you know that, it's a great way to vindicate like simple speech pattern and physiognomy checks. Because if you see him in interviews, he clearly is an insane retard. Like the way that he speaks, like he's got the kind of sloppy, weird, lazy eye, wink to the side type. Like he's clearly not a trustworthy person.
And like, I go into this stuff saying, I want to discover the truth. And if it's not true, then perhaps it's interesting. And I'm surprised at how often it's not even interesting. Yeah. And there's some stuff that is interesting, like the spinal catastrophism stuff. I know you disagree. The Nick Land stuff, I actually think it's interesting. We don't need to get into that.
Well, look, I never said it wasn't interesting. It's extremely interesting. I'm just pissing on anybody who takes it seriously and tries to apply it to their life. That's all.
Yeah,
like as a philosophy of, I'm a David Landian, and I think that we should, like, no.
Nick Land's more erratic brother, David Land, of course.
I'm thinking about David Icke still. It's a marriage of David Icke and Nick Land. Yeah.
You were thinking of Chuck Land, who runs a franchise of several franchises of Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Do you know that if you run like 3 franchises of Canadian Tire, you can live like a mafia don?
Yeah.
Like I've known some guys who do that, and they live in a fucking mansion. Like, is that shit that makes you rethink your whole life? Because you spend your whole life thinking, oh, who's the fucking guy who owns the Tim Hortons? But if you're a guy, if you've got some vigor and you own like 3 Tim Hortons, like you're a multimillionaire, and you don't do anything. You don't do anything because you just hired some middle managers who are, like you're kicking back. That's passive income. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, this is coffee. Dick Ocean is the. That's an Ocean's 11. I would like to see, and you wouldn't like to see. So yeah, anyway, that was just, we've covered a lot of this conspiracy stuff, and I don't want it to seem like I'm too harsh on it because, but by the end of it, without fail, like remember, we had this great clip. We were discussing like the mud flood in Tartaria and all that. Like, okay, let's talk. Everyone's talking about the mud flood, and this cataclysmic event that buried all these buildings. And then what's Tartaria? Why are there all these photos of these great cities in America and Europe, and there's no people in them? What the fuck? And you had pointed out that that's just how cameras work, that the exposure times.
How daguerreotypes and tintypes work, and this is like a well-established thing. And in fact, it's such a common thing that there's a whole hobby group of people that literally do daguerreotypes and tintypes to this day, and they do have like a 30-second to like 10-minute exposure time. But again, if you were a normal person, you would know that. And if you're a boneheaded retard, then you would just believe this theory out of hand without questioning it, and then mock everyone who doesn't believe you, like some people we know.
And I would always, defend these, because there's certain people who believe every single conspiracy theory and every single esoteric thing, no matter what it's based off of. It's just, yep, I believe it. And I had said previously that I think the function of these people is to just, I could understand where they're coming from in the sense that there's been so many lies and deceits that have been forwarded by the government. At some point, a person who could be successful in their life, like a lot of these people, they have families, they have jobs, they can carry a conversation, they're probably really cool, but they've just said, I've been lied to enough, everything's on the table. I don't believe anything anymore. You have to prove to me every bit of history because I don't know what to believe. And I could understand them even if you understand that, or if you believe, as we often do, that scientists are oftentimes lying to you. Historians don't really have a good read. So that's extreme.
I mean,
but I'd say, you know what? I think it's a uniquely modern phenomena that they're saying you must now justify your truth in every aspect.
I accept that, but I don't like them owning it, because I think the people that stand up and say, I'm the conspiracy theorist and I'll believe anything. No, you don't get to be the only one who says, I don't believe everything the government tells you. Guess what, nigger? I also don't believe everything the government tells me. But sometimes the stuff the government tells you, the mundane shit, like the fact that the moon is orbiting the earth, they're not lying about it. They don't lie about everything. Some things are just fucking true. Just because they lied about a lot of things doesn't mean literally, it doesn't mean that the sky is green, dumbass. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the idea that just because they are incredulous and will believe fucking anything means that the rest of us are idiots.
Because, there's the mantra, trust nobody, question everything. And I still believe that, but it's like, there must come a point where you do question everything, but you arrive at an answer. But if you are just in a constant mode of critique, you never really land on the truth. And if you are always question the government, turns into reflexively disbelieving whatever the government says, which is almost just as bad, because then if the fucking government says like, oh, there's people swarming over the border, why would you even believe them then?
And you know what? These same fucking guys that we're talking about were the ones that when the government is actually admitting that there's a problem, they say, oh, there must be no problem. And the direct your gaze somewhere else. It's like, no, finally they're actually listening to us, that they're accepting there's a problem. And now you walk away, because it's exactly what you just said. They reflexively believe that whatever the government says, it's the opposite is true. Well, what you should be doing is saying, I don't trust the government. When the government sells me something, I'm going to critique it and verify it. And I find a lot of the time it's totally false, and a lot of the time it's totally true. But I have to make that decision for myself. I don't say I don't have to you know what I mean? Like, if they go to critique something the government says and it turns out that it looks like it's true, they'll refuse that research, because like, well, it can't be true. The government said it. Like, that's retarded.
There's also an interesting aspect to that, which is that, and this is what I was talking about before, which is it's a modern phenomena. It's that you disbelieve any evidence from the current era, but you reflexively put more stock in anything that is older. And the more old something is, the more you believe it, which means that your most cherished sources are like fucking scrolls that you got a screenshot of that might not even be real, or that might so it's like, but I'm like, that's an interesting part of it. So that means this is just a rebellion against modernity.
Another variation of like some of these flat earth guys that we know, they say, you know, all of known Western science, NASA, fucking everything that's in the textbooks in college and universities globally, it's all fucking wrong. That scholarship is wrong. And they say, like, well, if you think it's real, then why don't you go test it? You weren't there. You don't know the scientist. Maybe the scientist isn't real. But they will believe out of hand a guy on YouTube. And it's like, not only is the guy himself not even claiming any legitimate credibility, but again, you could use the same argument. You don't know that guy's real. You haven't done the study. You haven't read what he's written. You don't even know if he they don't apply the same arguments to everything. So again, it boils down to this. Like you said, they're out of hand discounting all kinds of evidence or all kinds of argument just because they are. And I get it. You're psychologically burned from being lied to so many times. But maybe if you're that burnt out, you shouldn't be a decision maker. You shouldn't be trying to convince other people of things. You should probably just focus on yourself and get out of the public space.
Yeah, and also, like, just to return to this, I'm the guy who would listen to Coast AM. I loved Art Bell and all that shit. I would get excited about, you know, the best of clips where it's like an inside source, because everyone loves these stories. An inside source from Area 51 or from the intelligence community comes with the classified information, right? But then you start noticing that they get certain things wrong, and eventually it's like a plot hole. It feels like a plot hole where I'm like, if you were really that professional, you wouldn't make that mistake, and you consciously need to gloss over that shit to go with them on it. And to me, I think you need to keep a reasonable suspension of disbelief, and the suspension of disbelief for some people, I think, is just way too high. And the problem is, and this is where I think you're the most correct, which is you're always trying to ask, where does this go? What's the end result? What are we doing all this for? For what purpose, right? And one thing I noticed with David Icke, if you read everything and you believe everything, and there's so much science fiction like drama, and it's an interstellar war with Earth at the center. It's like Star Wars in a lot of ways, or Independence Day rather. And at the end of it, it's like, well, what do we do? Let's say this is all correct. What the fuck do we do as the humans, as the resistance? And the answer is choose love.
Really?
That's it. That's all he says. It always ends with some fucking hippie shit. It always ends with, you need to choose love. You need to love one another because, hey, we're on this crazy spaceship, man. And I'm like, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to say I'm the main character in this cosmic drama and say, like, but what we need to do, everyone's got to do mushrooms and, you know, link hands like a fucking Coca-Cola ad.
At least L. Ron Hubbard started a fucking cult. Like, come on, Dave, you can do better than that.
No, that's a great point. I would respect L. Ron Hubbard more than David Icke.
They're both grifters, but L. Ron Hubbard actually made money at it. I mean, I'm not saying David Icke has obviously made a career out of this, but L. Ron Hubbard was like nigger rich by the time he died.
Well, did David Icke, did he ever in his life get his own fucking intercontinental ship and naval fleet where he could just do drugs and fuck hoes?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, actually. So, hey, one guy in this entire mess ended up getting a stockpile of guns and heroin and sluts. And so I'm thinking that guy won. I'm thinking L. Ron Hubbard's back. People keep asking me, is L. Ron Hubbard back? And up until now, I didn't have an answer. But I'm thinking L. Ron Hubbard's back. This one's been all over the fucking map. You know, if this was a regular produced episode, maybe some of that would have gotten cut. But I'm very proud of us, both of us, not just proud of you, but us, for really not making any actionable threats.
Well,
actually, we kind of did.
A little bit.
I think we both did.
But it wasn't to people that anybody cares about, so it's okay.
It was just, well, I mean, this guy's making threats to teachers all up and down this fucking page.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of threatened teachers by saying that Nick Land should get a job as a professor at ACLU.
But yeah, we're threatening him because he'd be the school shooter. He'd be the sex shooter. I invented that the other day. I invented a sex shooter. And yeah, I made it up. Your parents don't want you to be a sex shooter. Cubic army of 4 days. Again, there's a lot of good stuff in here. So I think we've got a new genesis, right? I think this is the first true 21st century post ideology, merging. All this stuff, by the way, spinal catastrophism, CCRU, none of this shit exists without the internet. This is all blog stuff.
Sure.
This is forum stuff. This is not Enlightenment era. None of this could exist outside of the internet context.
And it's mimetic, right? That's what's his name said an hour ago, that everything has an audience. Well, not everything did have an audience prior to the internet. Like, you can have something that's so weird and esoteric that only a fraction of the population will even bother to read the first paragraph. But with the internet, you could build a whole community around it. And then the idiosyncrasy of it drives it even further. Like with this, we were saying a lot of these people are lol cow, or like they're trolls, right? Or enablers, because Gene is a lol cow and like this isn't serious. But the more people that play along and enable, the bigger it becomes. And then other people are like, maybe this is real. Maybe there are people that believe it.
You know what I'd love to do? Who's the guy who has the highest IQ in the world? It's like Chris Langdon or something like that?
Based.
Do you remember him? Or do I have that right?
Yeah, Langdon, I think so.
I think we got to get him. I want to run all this by him because he's also famous. Like, look him up, Chris Langdon. Yeah, yep, that's him, Chris Langdon. There's all these videos, interviews of him. I've heard about him and read about him for a while. The man with a 200 IQ. Like, this to me is such an obvious show. This would be the show where get him and just have someone just say this shit to him. What do you think? And if he might say it's really good and smart, right?
Maybe
that would be the bit. If I can get Chris Langdon on the show and propose to him this new post ideology, and if he's just polite enough to not walk off, I think that's a win for us.
If I was the smartest man on earth, I'd probably be suicidally sick of people proposing things to me. I think.
Also, like, they assume you're just smart at everything, so they're pitching you business ideas, and they're like, yeah, sure.
He's like ChatGPT. Chris.
By the way, I had a character. It was Chat GPT shitlib. What was the context of that? It was this idea where I don't know. It was just like an AI robot you get, because I was reading this fucking Substack article written by a hicklib. So this would have been like a liberal progressive who grew up rural and is throwing all their friends and former family under the bus by calling all rural people school shooters and shit like that. And I've met a lot of hicklibs in my real life, and they're always the most reprehensible people. And it's always something like, you know what? I drive a truck. I chew tobacco, and you know what? I'm voting Kamala. You know, I mean, you've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just sounds really like almost schizophrenic the way you hear it, because there's also that Kamala Harris ad where it's like a bunch of Antifa actors. It's like, yeah, I'm a man's man. I'm a real man. I chop wood and I eat beef for every meal, and I like a beer, but I'm not afraid to cry. Sort of like a guy who probably thinks Yellowstone is his masculinity.
Yeah.
You know, hey, it's me, it's Hicklib GPT.
Trans robot times.
If there's one thing I like, it's drinking beer and eating beef and voting for Kamala Harris. If there's one thing I believe in, it's mass immigration into Alabama. I grew up shooting paintball barn. I grew up single mother.
The malfunctioning droid.
Malfunctioning Hicklib GPT. Anyway, we've been going on for, here we go. Biscuits and Coffee, second only to Abortion Romano, another of our great characters. I think I missed this one from Sean Schaefer. James Lindsay needs to be bisected by the sword of St. Michael. I don't know what that was in reference to, but I just agree.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, so be going for a while now. I know we gotta get going. Thank you. I'm gonna let you go because this is over like 2.5 hours now. So anyway,
beautiful.
Any closing thoughts on Time Cube? Any?
No, I mean, look, it's as with the same with catastrophism. It's a wonderfully interesting. It's a real, gets your noggin jogging, something to chew on, for sure. So I'm glad we covered it.
Oh, we got requited here. Movie time with the missus is over. Trying to tack what I jumped into and feeling my mind starting to slip. I was already thinking, if you jumped into this in the last half an hour, I feel sorry for you, man. This is one of our top 3 most alienating episodes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you stuck with us for all the way from Lauren Chen's stand-up act until now, I mean, this might be the vintage Blood Satellite arc in one episode.
Yeah, I said I was going to bury Lauren Chen in a pool of sand, so that we could do that. Also, Franson, I'm coming for you.